What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 1 OK Chapter 1 Ferret, Yi Bajian Grunt. The strong liquor enters the throat, and the pungent sensation extends from the lower abdomen to the lungs. A warm current makes the cold in winter no longer lingering. Belch. The young man sighed and leaned comfortably on the rock behind him. Look carefully, the little boy template is not too standard. His long hair looks very elegant, but the scars on his face look a bit ruinous. According to the words of a teenager, a man's scars will add wildness and charm. Except for a clean martial arts suit and a saber tied next to it, the only existence of the wine gourd is abrupt. Looking at the young boy, taking a sip between winter practice is the greatest enjoyment of coming to this world. Bajian, children can't drink. Next to the boy, a cute boy with a mature age that shouldn't be mature frowned, stretched out his hand, as if he wanted to stop the other party's behavior, and finally gave up. The lines on his face moved slightly, and finally he sighed. His name is Uchiha Itachi and he is 5 years old this year. The boy next to him was a friend he met when he was practicing shuriken 6 months ago. Yi Bajian, this should be what your mother said to you. Grunt. After glancing at this magical boy, Yi Bajian retracted his gaze and took another sip of himself. Unfortunately, I didn't. This is very free and easy, and there is no sadness except a little regret. Itachi had an apologetic face and seemed to want to apologize. After all, in his opinion, orphans are sad, especially in such an era in the depths. Don't show that expression. Yi Bajian patted Itachi on the shoulder calmly. A person like me is not bad. At least I wouldn't sigh and frown every day like you do, thinking about things you don't need to think about, and then take a bite of the meaning of life. Aren't you tired, frowning, sighing? Itachi was a little embarrassed. Indeed, after practicing today, he sighed more often than usual. The reason? The village and Uchiha. After thinking about it, the Falingwen boy sighed again. Come, you have a sip too. Appropriately paralyze your nerves and let your brain take a good rest. Trust me, this is the only way to make you sigh less. When the wine gourd was thrown over, Itachi looked at the other party's serious eyes in shock. He has already said that children cannot drink, and according to his personality, even if he grows up, he will not drink this thing casually. But when facing the wine handed over by a friend, if you refuse, I am afraid that there will be some gaps between the so-called friends. Will this gap affect my friendship with Bajian? After all, besides Shisui, Bajian is the only friend who can be eye-catching and can say something in his heart. The young ferret's brain was running frantically. From the wine that was handed over, Itachi thought of so many questions. Your biggest shortcoming is that you think too much. Is it worthy of him? Just by looking at Itachi's twinkling eyes, Bajian knew what the other party was worried about. Shaking his head, Bajian was about to take the wine gourd back, but a naive little hand was placed on his arm, and then he took the wine gourd. Really drink? Bajian's eyes widened, completely unexpected that Itachi would actually hold the wine gourd into his mouth. Guru, with a big mouthful of erguodo into his belly, Itachi's expression changed from calm to firm, from firm to doubt, and finally from doubt to panic in only 3 seconds. What? His shoulders trembled violently, and Itachi stretched out his fingers in horror and pointed at the wine gourd. Yes, pure erguodo that is 10 times stronger than Konoha's so-called sake. Yi Bajian gladly accepted the wine gourd and explained. As a traveler, I am naturally not used to drinking sake from the island country. There is no difference between that thing and a drink. And this kind of authentic erguodo has his appetite. Of course, I am afraid that this type of alcohol is really not acceptable to people in this world. What? The fiery voice made Itachi instantly stand up and ran forward. He wanted to find some water to drink before the great fireball actually squirted. What the hell is this? Just thinking about the smell in the wine gourd made Itachi panic. It's not that he hasn't tasted his father's wine secretly, it's not a level thing at all. Looking at the back of Uchiha Itachi during the attack, Yi Bajian calmed down instead, raising his brow slightly as if he had made a decision, and then took a deep breath. Hey! The training ground covered by heavy snow seemed to be static. Itachi's red face was attracted by the roar and twisted back. He wanted to see what his friends who struggled to maintain their friendship were doing. A little bit of snowflakes fell on his hot face and melted instantly, and the young man suddenly heard something. Nice to meet you. My name is Yi Bajian, a man destined to set foot on the top. Reaching out and squeezing away from the opponent, the young man grabbed a saber in one hand and a wine gourd in the other and disappeared into the training ground. Really, friends? The hot Itachi panted heavily, and finally nodded and opened his mouth hoarsely. My name is Uchiha Itachi, please advise. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 2 The King of Flat Cutting, Zaraki Kenpachi. Midarashi means a hand-washing place next to a shrine in island culture. It is also called Midarashi only at the hand-washing area next to the shrine. Of course, Konoha has no shrines, but the surnames of the Midarashi clan have been circulating. To say that there is a shrine, the Uchiha clan has one, but it has nothing to do with the Midarashi clan. And in this generation, after the so-called Madarashi clan experienced the Third Ninja War, there is only one person left who bears the blood of the Madarashi clan. Anko, a girl 5 years older than Yi Bajian, has just graduated from the ninja school. Whoosh! Just stepping into the yard, a beautiful shadow rushed to Yi Bajian's side with a whistling sound. Staring at Yi Bajian blankly for a long time and sniffing with his nose, Anko confirmed one thing. The younger brother who was picked up by her when she was a child, drank again. You. Pinching his waist and stretching out his fingers, Anko pointed at Yi Bajian angrily, seeming to want to say something. Shish, I just told someone today that no one would care about my drinking. Glancing at Anko calmly, Bajian said, looking calm, his heart is still very warm, after all, Anko is exactly his only relative. The feeling of being preached by relatives, it should be interesting? Bajian thought of it, it's just a pity that he thought about it wrong. The inconspicuous Anko didn't care about drinking at all, but angrily pointed to the forehead protector on his forehead, shaking Bajian's wine gourd. It's good to celebrate my graduation, and then drink together in the evening, you drank it all by yourself. Do you still have my sister in your heart? Who is the one who pulls you big P? Where is the conscience? So, are you angry that drinking does not take you? The corner of Bajian's mouth twitched, and, are you sure to pull me a lot of shit and pee? Do you want a face? Bajian, who has passed through, still needs others to do this kind of thing? Others are embarrassed, he really doesn't have that face. Too lazy to take care of Anko, and after throwing her a full bottle of wine gourd, Bajian went back to his room on his own. At this moment, stroking the saber next to him, a transparent template appeared in front of him. Host, Yi Bajian. World, Naruto. Unlock the King of Flat Cut template, Zaraki Kenpachi. Unlock percentage. 2.8%. The template progress reached 5%, and the first flat cut blessing feature will be unlocked at that time. Reach 10% of the King of Flat Cut template and unlock the next character template. Flat cut points. 50 points, which can be used to redeem props in the system mall, or to redeem template progress. Daily task. Swing the sword 1000 times, reward 0.1% template progress, completed. As a traverser, he naturally has his own cheat, and the Super Slashing King system is a powerful direct method to help Yi Bajian, and it is also the existence of the Flat Cutting King system, which makes him very confident to say to Itachi that he is destined to set foot on the peak. The King of Flat Cut, there is no bells and whistles. Simple and rude, just chop. And Yi Bajian is very lucky. The first character ability unlocked is Zaraki Kenpachi, the famous king of flat hacking in the Shinigami world. The Shinigami world uses Ryotsu to fight and uses Zanpakuto's abilities to suppress the enemy. But Zaraki Kenpachi is different. He has only one move from start to finish, and that is flat cut. Even Shikai and Bankai both increase the power of flat cutting. The king of flat cutting through and through. This is the case with the king of ping slash system. The daily tasks seem very simple, but after all, he is still young and it took a long time to adapt to this kind of high-intensity training. From the beginning, tired and unable to move, now it's just a little tired. This middle, he has experienced a lot and has grown a lot. Don't underestimate Zaraki Kenpachi's 2.8% strength. That is the famous fighting lunatic in Shinigami world. Once he enters the fighting state, the horror fighting power that erupts cannot be underestimated. The daily mission will be upgraded every other stage, and the effect is not known for the time being. He has not encountered unexpected tasks. According to the system, unexpected tasks will reward flat slashing points, and the slashing points can be directly exchanged for 1% of template progress for every 1000 points, and can also be exchanged for a dazzling array of items in the system mall. Items. For example, Bajian's Erguodo is redeemed from the system mall. There is everything in it, even Rinnegan in this world, but the price is not acceptable to him. For the time being, the easiest way to improve strength is to complete tasks every day. And Bajian also enjoys the feeling of improvement every day through training. This is a dangerous world. Don't forget that Konoha is so peaceful. The darkness hidden in the sun is the most terrifying thing. Shaking his head, Bajian fell asleep and fell asleep. Thousands of consecutive hacks are not a small burden for him at the age of 4 or 5. The next morning, a new day arrived. Yi Bajian opened his eyes and looked at Anko, who completely wrapped himself next to him, a little helpless. How many years have it been? She is used to it. I guess I went to the wrong room after drinking too much last night. Stinky brother, accompany me to see the instructor Jonin. Anko breathed out, feeling pushed away, said Anko. Your guide, Jonin. Orochimaru. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 3 Ninja Scientist, Bring Snake Pill. Itachi, you are so shameless. In the same morning, inside the Uchiha clan, in the yard of the patriarch. The atmosphere is obviously not so harmonious. Itachi sat on the ground without saying a word, accepting instructions from his father. But the stubbornness on his little face shows that he thinks he is doing the right thing. Even if it is the blame from the parents, because the word friend can be carried down. After drinking that sip of wine, he and Bajian are true friends. But he obviously underestimated the power of Erguodo, and wanted to sneak a sip of water when he came back, but he didn't know he fell asleep directly in the living room. Sleep until now. The wine is strong, but the taste gives it a bit of aftertaste. Nothing else. After his father brought him back from the battlefield, he hadn't slept so well for a long time. That's really cool. Time without thinking about anything is so happy. Sleeping is so peaceful. Will not be awakened by thinking about the meaning of life. I don't even think about why my father's eyes flicker when he looks at the village. I can't even hear the comments made by those outside about the Uchiha clan. And these, he couldn't explain to his father. The only way to bear the blame from his father is. However, it is better to do less of drinking in the future. Weasel knew this in his heart. Okay, this thing just passed, there are other things to find you today. Looking at his silent son, the anger on Fugaku's face gradually disappeared. The wife next to her is still pregnant, so there is no need to blame herself for this very arrogant son in front of her. Ninja school is about to start a new round of enrollment, I have already signed up for you. Remember, on the outside, you represent Uchiha, a family. He patted Itachi hard on the shoulder, Fugaku said. Yes, father, I understand. Itachi nodded, the confusion in his eyes flashed away. I see? Do I really understand? I guess so. Why does a clan only think of a clan, not a whole? He did not understand. Uchiha, isn't Konoha's Uchiha? In Konoha's training ground, Bajian repeated his slashing movements with one knife after another, seeming to vent frantically at the stake. But judging from the fanatical expression on his face, this mechanical slashing made him enjoy it. Daily missions have been refreshed, and today's daily mission surprises Bajian. Cut 2,000 times. Task reward, 0.2% template progress. After finishing, he will master Zaraki Kenpachi's 3% strength. Of course, this master is very different from playing. After all, his age is here, and the strength that he can really display is probably extremely limited. Therefore, it is necessary to use this hack to exercise one's will and body. In Bajian's view, daily tasks are no longer tasks, but necessary conditions and processes for growth. Rao is so, his strength, among the children of the same level, there is no rival at all. It is not an exaggeration to say that he is invincible at the same age. So, why do you have to let me be with you? Between the hacks, Bajian looked at Anko, who was sitting next to him on the rock, resting his cheeks and looking at him and asked. There is no doubt that Anko's teacher is Orochimaru. A well-deserved scientist in the ninja world. A man who yearns for immortality and loves to study ninjutsu. Needless to say, the value of Orochimaru. After Naruto became Hokage in the later period, Konoha's changes can be seen. Technology. The trains are out, it's outrageous. You are stupid, Lord Orochimaru is one of the legendary Sannin. I'll bring you here. If someone looks at you and show you 2 tricks, maybe you can even take it with you. Anko flipped through Byakugan. This time, 4 tails escaped her, really caring for her brother. Orochimaru. There are not many opportunities to get his advice. Oh, however, in Anko's expectation, his brother's ecstasy did not show up, and he did the task calmly. Draw a knife, chop, close the knife. Repeat an action over and over again. There is no fluctuation caused by the so-called belt snake pill. Joke. Is Orochimaru's ninjutsu important to him? Bajian, who owns cheat, doesn't need anyone's guidance. He is the king of flat cut, no need for bells and whistles. As for chakra and ryatsu, there are also physical issues. After unlocking 5% of the Zaraki Kenpachi template, the flat cutting feature enabled by the system will give the answer. This is what the system wizard told him. In short, he does not need any teachers. No one in this world deserves to teach him. Just keep hacking and he will get stronger and stronger, it's that simple. Good heart. Suddenly, a voice with strong interest appeared in the cold. Bajian's hand holding the knife paused slightly, and then continued to chop again. Behind him, Orochimaru was standing there. Obviously, he has been here for a while, but he just didn't come out. Very nice kid. The tongue stretched out, licking his tongue intentionally nauseously. Uncle Snake's gaze was wild and dangerous, and he commented on Yi Bajian who was slashing. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 4: A Terrifying Way of Cultivation. The time of Orochimaru's defection is not clear, but at least not now, but not far away. Mitarashi Anko is 1 year younger than Kurenai Yuhi. After graduation, Anko became Orochimaru's apprentice and received Orochimaru's teachings. In the same year, I became a researcher for Orochimaru and learned a lot. He even accepted Orochimaru's curse. That was the beginning of Anko's nightmare. Soon after, Orochimaru defected and brutally erased Anko's memory with the forbidden technique. This means that Orochimaru at this moment has already embarked on a path of no return. Human experiments have also begun. It seems that after the defeat of Naruto in the competition, Orochimaru started the latest research. With Danzo's support behind him, he has no shortage of resources. Yes. This terrible-looking cold man once wanted to be Hokage too. It is estimated that based on this alone, Naruto can jump out and point to Orochimaru's nose and shout, I forgive you, and just come to a whitewash. But this has little to do with Yi Bajian. It's that Anko's curse is a bit troublesome. That thing is not a good thing. Even as long as there is a curse seal, his Orochimaru can be forcibly resurrected. Very top. Big. Lord Orochimaru. Anko swallowed, seeming a little nervous. After all, not everyone can become a disciple of Orochimaru. She didn't know why third generation arranged this way. After watching Anko for a day, Orochimaru seemed to lose interest. In Orochimaru's creed, being a guide jonin is just a waste of time. But he had to accept this arrangement. At the very least, he had to give third generation the illusion that he was very busy, so that he could carry out human experiments with peace of mind. As for Anko's curse in the original book, it was just an accident. Even Orochimaru himself never thought that Anko would survive. The first survivor of the Seal of Heaven, probably this is the value of Anko. Whoosh! After stopping the slashing movement, Yi Bajian sighed, finally meeting Orochimaru's eyes. His eyes met, and no sparks broke out in the end. In the eyes of the other party, Bajian saw a little interest. Let's go, Anko. Licking his lips playfully, Orochimaru turned and left. It's a pity. Orochimaru-sama didn't care about his younger brother after all. Anko sighed, but the purpose of bringing his brother with him was still unfulfilled. She is a little slow, can't see through the meaning in Orochimaru's eyes. The first meeting, according to Orochimaru's character who likes to play with other people's thoughts, this is just the beginning. For example, after Orochimaru left, a small white snake crouched in the corner of the next big tree. If Orochimaru really looks at someone, he will be the first to observe. He is not as blatant as he was at the beginning of the plot. This is also Orochimaru's decision after observing Bajian for a while. It seems to be an ordinary chopping, but every knife is unreasonable. It seems that there is no regularity in the random, but it makes people feel that his knife is at any angle at the moment of the chopping. This is not a means that a teenager can have at such an age. Therefore, he developed curiosity. Withdrawing his gaze, Yi Bajian didn't bother to take care of it. Just watch it if you want. Don't be scared for a while. There are many ways of hacking, and the system has never been constrained to let him repeat away. The hack just now is just a warm-up. After all, repeating a slashing action, even if Bajian's temperament is mature, it will inevitably be boring. If other elements were added in the process of hacking, he wouldn't mind. Now, he is waiting for someone. Whoosh! A figure fell beside Bajian. It was Uchiha Itachi, who slept very well last night. It's a bit late. Bajian raised his eyebrows. Sorry, Bajian. Itachi said embarrassedly. The conversation with my father was delayed a lot of time. On the way here, I thought about the meaning of the existence of the so-called Yi clan in Konoha for a while, so I came late. Because my father told me something about the ninja school, I came late. Ignoring the content that was criticized, Itachi directly referred to the ninja school. After the winter, the season of recovery of all things comes, and it is also the time when the ninja school enrolls students. Uchiha Fugaku has already signed up for his genius son. Ninja school. Yi Bajian suddenly. Ninja school, a magical place. Founded by the second Hokage Senju Tobarama, it is the place where all Konoha shinobi practitioners first began to practice. Some basic knowledge of ninja can be learned, but the biggest role is to brainwash. Shaking his head, Yi Bajian is not very cold to that place. However, as Konoha's child, he has to go to a cutscene. Let's start. Without going to the ninja school, Yi Bajian gradually sharpened his eyes and walked into the field step by step. At this moment, he was completely in the state with the knife in his hand. The fierce temperament on his body, combined with the scar on his face, made Itachi feel a strong sense of oppression. Nodded, Itachi took a deep breath, took out 10 shurikens from the package and pinched it tightly. 1, 2, 3. Whoosh whoosh, suddenly, 10 shurikens shot at Yi Bajian from Itachi's hands. Active attack. At this moment, the white little snake that emerged from behind the tree was obviously stunned. But even more shocking is obviously still to come. The man waving his arms, the man with a fanatical warfare on his face yelled with a knife. Ding ding ding. All the shurikens that were shot at him were directly cut off by him. The most incredible thing was that 10 shurikens were shot at Uchiha Itachi again intact. What are you doing, playball? The little snake opened his mouth in horror. But obviously, the training of the two is not over yet. Itachi once again projected the shurikens and smashed the first 10 shurikens into the air. Ding ding ding. Between the lightning and flint, the shuriken turned and shot at Yi Bajian again. The real cultivation has just begun, and the white snake. Already confused. Is this their horrible way of cultivation? Nonsense. Still confident, he couldn't accept it. The new book on the first day asks big guys to take care of it, and ask for flowers to comment. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 5 Itachi. Jonsong, I can't do it anymore. Ding ding ding. When the two of them began to practice, only the sound of shurikens colliding was heard in the training ground. That little white snake, from the shock at the beginning, to the bewilderment, to the calm, and finally to the numbness, leaving sadly, no one knows what he experienced during this period. These two children, who were only 5 years old, had too much impact on him. Think about it, what was he doing when he was 5 years old? Read it. Should be. Then he joined a ninja school and was carefully taught by third generation after graduation. At that time he was almost 10 years old. Although they graduated early, in front of these two people, they didn't dare to call themselves geniuses. Are they really 5 years old? At Orochimaru's base, Anko was looking at the ninjutsu manual given by the teacher with gusto. And Snake, who was suspicious of life, looked at the books in front of him and fell into autism. He took out his pen and finally wrote 2 names on the piece of paper in front of him. Uchiha Itachi, Yi Bajian. After writing, Orochimaru suddenly wondered. People from the Uchiha clan are good at shurikens, and can throw back shurikens in flight. This is normal. Even the Uchiha people who have not turned on Sharingan are very talented in this aspect. But why does Yi Bajian? Judging from his appearance, it is obviously not the first time to have such a terrifying practice with Uchiha Itachi. Even obviously has the upper hand. Why is he? It's just a civilian. Frowning, Orochimaru can't figure it out at all. Jansong. I can't do it anymore. Half an hour later, there was a fascinating sound from the training ground. Of course, there was no such kind of hand-pushed incident that you would like to see in the scene, but the result was similar to the hand-pushed incident. It was all exercises performed by 2 people, and one of them was still alive, and the other was illusory. That's not going to work. Ding ding ding, he cut and flew the shuriken in front of him again, but this time, the shuriken did not fly to Uchiha Itachi but all hit the bullseye drawn on the trunk next to him. The accuracy is too strong. You are so fictitious. Frowning, Yi Bajian supported the limp, panting Itachi and came to rest on the rock next to it. Virtual. Itachi had nothing to say, so he blushed and turned Byakugan. Compared with Bajian, he is indeed imaginary. At least they are still alive and motivated, but I can't do it anymore. No way. After getting more tired, he could no longer see the flying shurikens, and the shurikens shot out would lose their accuracy, and it would be meaningless to continue. And the man in front of him was a real monster. He knew this the first time he met. In Konoha, Bajian was the first 5-year-old child who could chop and chop thousands of times in a row. He can be sure of this. Forced to rest, after taking out the wine gourd, Bajian took a sigh of relief, and then habitually handed it to the ferret. After experiencing yesterday's drinking incident, although Itachi was interested, but after all, he did not pluck up the courage to pick up the wine gourd. Your father had just warned in the morning, and he naturally didn't dare now. The atmosphere gradually became silent. Itachi didn't have the energy to speak. And Bajian is thinking about things. The little white snake has disappeared, and even if it were, Bajian wouldn't care. It's the body of Itachi. Frowning, Bajian looked at Itachi. In the original book, this sad boy died after giving his brother a wave of sea last. But even if he doesn't let the sea go and Sasuke is not killed, he will die soon. Being seriously ill, he couldn't hold on for long. But what kind of disease is it, or what terminal disease it is, there is no description in the original book. The sequelae of killing father and mother? Carrying a dark phobia? Yi Bajian didn't know either. What is certain is that if it is really needed at that time, he will think of a way. He has no medical skills, but the system Mall has everything. It all depends on whether the boy still regards him as his first self and his simple friend when it comes to the bones. As for the meaning of these words, Itachi doesn't understand it now. As Itachi and Kisame said, people can only see themselves before they die. Itachi. Flicking the saber in his hand, Bajian smiled suddenly. What's wrong? Itachi blinked, with a little doubt on his cute little face. If you encounter something in the future, you can't solve the problem. Or maybe it's a fork in the road, you can ask me. Paused. Bajian sighed slightly when he thought of the tragedy of this man. If you treat me as a friend. Before Itachi died, he saw himself clearly. After being in Pure World Reincarnation, I found that it was a wrong decision to say that everything was on my back. Even Naruto who used this theory to escape, but in life, there is no regret medicine. Well, you continue to rest, my body does not allow me to sit here and be lazy. Today was hacked 2,000 times. Without talking to Itachi, Bajian continued his practice. And Itachi, who was sitting on the rock looking at Bajian's back, was obviously dumbfounded. If you treat me as a friend, what does Jansong mean? What does he know? I see. Suddenly, Weasel gritted his teeth and looked at Bajian's wine gourd that had fallen on the stone. Is it possible? No solution anymore. Shaking and picking up the wine gourd, Itachi sighed. Grunt. Delivered on the first day of Friday. Ask for a wave of data. Are you there, reader? Your existence determines whether this book sees the sun of tomorrow. If you leave your valuable comments in the comment area, it would be nice to feed a flower. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 6 The Sprouting Emotion, That Touch of Throbbing. He didn't do anything to you, did he? After a day of practice, Yi Bajian returned to his home with Anko. Although a little tired, he broke through 1,000 hacks and reached 2,000 times, and his whole person has sublimated a lot. Every breakthrough is a baptism to oneself. Bajian enjoys this process. I fell on the bed and rested without going home. After washing my body carefully, I happened to meet Anko who came home from Orochimaru. Putting on kabuto crotch pants calmly, Bajin asked. The girl's face was reddened, her eyes swept back and forth, and finally she took it back from Bajin. After all, living in the same home, this kind of scene is not the first time I have experienced it. But he is getting older and older. Women in this world are famous for their precocity. For example, Hinata fell in love with Naruto when he was 3 years old, and think about it, although there is something wrong, this is the beauty of the second dimension. Anko is no exception. Now her girlish heart is overflowing, and it is the best age in her life. The figure is also ranked high in the early stages of the entire Naruto world, especially at a young age. He knows how to decorate his wildness with silk socks. This kind of comprehension alone is not comparable to ordinary people. As for the fact that the blogger turns into a fat woman, it can be tuned and controlled, so don't worry. You said he meant Mr. Orochimaru? Slowly, Anko asked suspiciously. Hey, he's my teacher. Okay, do you dare to have a better mind? With that, the girl flipped through Byakugan. Bajin didn't explain anything. Just calmly walked to the side of Anko, gently lifted the other's hair with his hand, and then jumped on the girl's thigh and stretched her neck and looked over. What is he going to do? Should I resist? Or do you resist a little bit and give up? Anko's face turned redder, and he looked like a freshly baked meatball. But she obviously misunderstood something. After stroking the white and pink neck, Bajin left her sister's arms after not finding anything unusual. A bit too nervous. After exhaling, Bajin turned and walked to his room. He was naturally checking the curse seal. That is the evil force that changed Anko's life. Let the lively girl become the magical power of the autistic ant. This time, he obviously won't let the tragedy repeat itself. Anko's life is wonderful. In the early stage, she was the sturdy chief examiner, but she was met by Orochimaru in seconds. In the later period, she was just a tool to revive Orochimaru. The kind that is disgusting. Bajin couldn't accept it. Changes are slowly accumulated. Orochimaru defected and Konoha did not bring Anko, which was a big blow to her. Night. And just before Bajin entered his room, Anko suddenly yelled. This time, she didn't shout the word, brother, in a high-pitched voice, ordering something in the manner of a sister's order. Call one night alone. Slowly bricks, Bajin's eyes are calm. Be with me. Go eat the meatballs, okay? For some reason, after the scene just now, Anko suddenly became a little shy and at a loss. Even, in the tone of asking Bajin to accompany her to eat meatballs, there was a little request. A few seconds later, just when Anko was a little disappointed. The boy nodded and gave her an affirmative answer. Good. Konoha's meatball shop. This is a very magical place. Oftentimes, some characters with heads and faces will come to enjoy them after their tasks. Just like now. Pushing open the door and walking in, Bajin saw several familiar figures. The first goal is a watermelon-headed man in bright green sportswear. In the future, he will be famous all over the world, the youthful might guy. On the inside, Kurenai Yuhi was having a headache with Sarutobi Asuma in front of her. After she saw Anko, she quickly walked over like a savior. Looking around, Bajin looked away. He has no interest in seeing a crowd of dragons. Finding a place to sit down casually, Bajin rubbed his sore shoulders. After all, there were a few fewer people with Anko, and they didn't appear here. For example, the innocent girl Nohara Lin. Another example is Anbu Ninja, who is in autism and is serving as a bodyguard for 4th Hokage's wife Uzumaki Kushina, copying the ninja Hitaki Shirijiri Nishi. Speaking of it, Minato is a bit too much. He hopes to break through the haze in Kakashi's heart through the emergence of new life. But, is it really good for you to do this? Let a person who has a dead father and a dead companion see how warm your family is. Is it too much? With a slight sigh, Bajin looked outside. The seasons in Naruto world are weird. The New Year festival has passed. It is clearly the beginning of spring, but it is still snowing. It is estimated that at this time, Kakashi is still squatting in the window of 4th generation, acting as a bodyguard for Kushina. But speaking of Kushina, Bajin's eyes flashed a little. The Nine Tails chaos is approaching. This troubled Konoha. Shaking his head, Bajin showed a hint of sarcasm at the corner of his mouth. As for who you are mocking, no one sitting there knows. It was because Anko and Kurenai Yuhi sat next to Bajin, and Asuma was following him across from him. This ridicule was taken seriously by him. What does he mean? Asuma's face sank. Well, now, Plus will be late, but will never be absent. The 6th watch on the first day came out in the middle of the night. But the young author is so heartbroken that he saw only 6 evaluation votes. This book. Isn't it true that nobody reads it? Readers, give an evaluation ticket monthly. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 7 You choked on Anko. Along with the smell of smoke, there is a trace of dissatisfaction coveted. Bajin's eyes met Sarutobi Asuma. After glanced at the no-smoking notice board specially hung on the wall by the owner of the ball shop, Bajin suddenly smiled. Is this the son of Hokage? Sarutobi Asuma. In the anime, the impression is mediocre, but he is often caught up with a bearded man. What Kenpachi impressed him the most was that he left the scene of the little widow dying unrestrainedly, which is indeed a bit ridiculous. Looking at Sarutobi Asuma's resume, he rebelliously left Konoha and became one of the guardian ninjas, and very hardly took the daimyo as the jade in Sarutobi Hiruzen's mouth. Only before dying, thinking of Kurenai Yuhi who gave him the continuation of incense, and understanding the so-called child, is precious jade. However, judging from the magnificent scene of him smoking in the Maruko shop, he is still a younger brother now. His death, the atmosphere of the original animation is very touching. But, after growing up, Bajian suddenly began to feel cold towards this character. Both are the sons of Hokage. He is not even worse than Naruto. As a man, he didn't give him any status as a woman until he died, and made him pregnant when he was unmarried. It's a loser in every way. The son of Naruto is really funny. Cough, cough. It makes sense to ban smoking in public. Both Anko and Kurenai Yuhi, apparently a little uncomfortable with the taste of this kind of unfamiliar tobacco, coughed one or two with a slow expression. People with at least some common sense should put out their cigarettes and apologize at this time. But Sarutobi Asuma obviously did not have this idea. On the contrary, he felt that he was smoking a cigarette like his old father, and he took another violent puff. He has always wanted to be recognized by his father, but he didn't learn something from Sarutobi, the third Hokage, such as the 5-series Grandmaster in ninjutsu. Instead, he learned the posture of smoking. Sometimes men are handsome in smoking, but sometimes this behavior can cause dissatisfaction. The ridiculous son of Naruto. When Asuma was about to vomit out the big puff, Bajian suddenly looked at him with a calm smile. Either put out the cigarette or leave smoothly in front of me. Huh. The saber was pulled out of the sheath and pierced directly through the table, and Bajian's face appeared a little hideous. You choked on Anko. You choked on Anko. The relationship between Bajian and Anko is beyond doubt. It's hard to imagine what life Anko had before he picked Bajian back. From strangers to real relatives, Bajian has long regarded Anko as the most important part of the world, someone who needs to be guarded. Anko is the softest place in Bajian's heart. At the very least, she gave Bajian a warm home. Family. After practicing every day, there is a place where you can rest and sleep in peace. Boy, what are you talking about? Asuma, holding a puff of smoke, finally spoke, but with this opening, the thick light blue gas rushed directly to Bajian's face. Huh. A ray of cold light flashed, and Asuma only felt that her cheeks were slightly cold. The beard he worked so hard to leave, and the cigarette he finally dang in his mouth, was directly chopped in half. His chin was suddenly pinched and forced to open his mouth. Click. The unextinguished cigarette flashed a spark in the air, and the disgusting-looking scum was all in his mouth. Gaba. Hiss, the chin is closed, and the sound of cigarette extinguishing is clearly audible. Boom. The last kick kicked the opponent out of the ball shop, and Bajian completed the whole set of actions. There is no sluggishness. Even if the opponent is the son of Hokage, there is no hesitation. From the moment Asuma choked to Anko, his result was already doomed. Sitting on the chair again, calmly picked up the balls, and then poured the chili oil into the horrified eyes of all the spectators in the ball shop, suffocating into the stomach in one bite. Others don't know, might guy who is not far away is stunned anyway. Do sweets touch chili? Is it really edible, or is this kid trying his best to suppress the panic of doing his hands on the son of Naruto? Yes. Sarutobi Asuma, he is the son of Naruto, Knight. Anko didn't know what to say, but was moved and hugged Bajian's arm. Although this arm is still very young, but it is completely worth relying on. The jewel-like eyes of Kurenai Yuhi next to him were shining with a strange light. Just looking at the aura of this kid, it seems that no matter who you are, the person who moved me must pay a price. What a nice little man. Eat it. But the next second, the beautiful atmosphere was suddenly destroyed. I saw Bajian hand the dessert balls covered with chili oil to Anko's mouth. Is this for me? Anko was horrified. Favorite meatballs, plus the most annoying pepper. Is this still edible? In order to avoid that one of my arms will not be able to wrap around your bucket waist in the future, please eat it. From now on, the number of balls to be eaten every day will be controlled within 10. That's all. That's right, she has been stuffed into 10 skewers just now when she came to the meatball shop. Obviously, the culprit who turned the girl into a bloated mother was found. When Anko took the balls and stuffed them in his mouth trembling, Bajian stood up and looked at the owner of the balls shop. 5 string balls, take them away. Of course, this is not for Anko. It was a gift for Bajian's only friend other than his relatives. After all, think about it carefully, that hapless kid who likes desserts. But suffered for a lifetime. Please beg Wawa. Wawa is awesome and must be added today. Thanks for the little author. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 8. Can you come as a friend? Is it tasty? As I said, in the winter, the sunshine has a little warmth, and the cold air in the morning also carries a sense of comfort. It's still the same place. The unknown training ground where the boy and Itachi met. The lunchbox has been opened, and the 5 bunches of meatballs in it are missing one bunch. After swallowing that bite of sweets, the young Itachi blushed, and Bajin, who looked shyly, didn't know what to say. After all, he was still a kid. After taking a sip of wine, Bajin threw a knife and started training in no hurry. The king of flat-cutting Zaraki Kenpachi template has reached 3% progress, and 2% will open the so-called flat-cutting feature. Yi Bajin is looking forward to this. Counting the time, the Nine Tails Chaos will come on October 10th, the day Naruto was born. Sasuke was about 3 months older than Naruto, and was born in July. Now that the winter has not completely passed, he still has half a year to improve himself to ensure that he will not be scraped to death by the violent Nine Tails during the Nine Tails Chaos. The Nine Tails turmoil in the original book did not affect Anko, but that does not mean that there will be no collateral reactions to his appearance, nor does it mean that he will definitely not be affected. So, at least you have to protect yourself a little bit. However, the so-called self-protection does not mean that he must have the ability to head with Nine Tails. But when Nine Tails sweeps the village and destroys the buildings, it can face the collapsed houses, that's all. Very real self-protection, but also very ironic, but when disaster strikes, that is the only extravagant desire of the weak. Bajin is not weak, he just needs time. Many things will happen to Konoha in the past 6 months. Orochimaru defected. Jiraiya also left the village in the name of hunting down Orochimaru. A must-have cutscene in the ninja school. Anko may be engraved at any time, and so on. These things are the motivation for Bajin to improve himself. Bajin, I heard that you beat Master Naruto's son? After a moment of silence, Itachi put down the balls, a worrisome expression on his face. Passing so fast? Bajin was taken aback. It was just last night, and Asuma was so embarrassed that it was reasonable and would not be spread. Others will not say much because of the identity of the other party. How did Itachi know? The Uchiha clan worked as a Konoha guard. Sarutobi Asuma was kicked out of the Maruko shop yesterday and was spotted by the patrol. After kicking Hokage's son, Itachi looked at his friend with some emotion. In his opinion, Bajin is not the kind of person who casually takes action against his companions. If he did so, there must be his reasons. But what made him curious was that the guards saw it, but they didn't step forward to interrogate or even take care of it. Why is that? He was worried about this before, and even wanted to take the initiative to find his father and ask Bajin to let him go. But in fact, the guard patrols are in charge. What is the meaning of the existence of the patrol? The young Itachi does not have a clear definition of what kind of existence the village and Uchiha are. He doesn't understand. Bajin understands. The reason is simple. The identity of Asuma. From the perspective of the Uchiha clan, they just experienced the Third Ninja War, and they didn't even get any reward from Konoha. What is it like in their hearts? The Uchiha clan also experienced the War of Blood and Fire, and paid a heavy price for Konoha. Then, why treat us differently? What are the consequences of patrolling the village with this mentality? After they saw the son of 3rd Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen who was kicked out of the meatball shop by a child, should they gloat or intervene in dealing with the child who embarrassed Naruto's son? The answer is definitely the former. From this point, Bajin smelled a little bit. That is the contradiction between Konoha and Uchiha. The bud has begun to spread. Is it about to start? The Nine Tails Chaos is the last straw that crushes Uchiha. At that time, Uchiha was once again suspected by the senior management, and even the family land was moved to others. The contradiction will expand again. Without explaining anything to Itachi, Bajin understood that he would figure out this problem on his own in the future, and then make a decision. If they are still friends then, Bajin chose to stand on his side. Cultivation. Standing up, Bajin walked into the court with a knife. No matter when, strength will not betray oneself. The light of the sword disappeared, and the collision between the shuriken and the saber turned into a beautiful symphony. And a small white snake came out of a tree hole not far away again, showing a curious look. The time of cultivation always flies quickly. Yesterday's hacking 2,000 times, after the upgraded version of the daily task was completed, it has become a daily task, that is to say, starting today, the daily task has been changed. 2,000 hacks and kills, Bajin enjoys it. Huh, Jonsong, you are such a monster. Finally, when the sun was about to set, Itachi languished on the stone, breathing heavily. Bajin also stopped. Itachi was shocked by Bajin's physical changes. It is clear that after 2,000 hacks yesterday, the man's whole body was shaking. And today, he can already make his body no longer uncontrollable because of his disengagement. Monster? Probably. As he calmed his breath, Bajin replied. Have a rest. Itachi paused suddenly and spoke again. Sword. Tomorrow is my mother's birthday, can you, can come? As my friend. Ask for flowers and a monthly pass. It's too much to be motionless, and the author cried. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 9 Qualified Father, Failed Patriarch. The Uchiha clan. The well-deserved Konoha luxurious family. This race is a little too proud, and it also bears the glory that looks ridiculous. Until now, they are still alive in the Sengoku period, and their Uchiha clan swept through the world of shinobi, and only Senju can fight against them in the world. Therefore, people of this ethnic group rarely have excessive exchanges with other ethnic groups or even common people. According to Bajian's eyes, the Uchiha family is more suitable to be called the Uchiha Autonomous Region. There are special ethnic groups in Konoha, but every once in a while, there is a special case in the Uchiha clan. A special case of full sun. This special case drives them to bond with people outside the ethnic group. Uchiha Obito in front, Uchiha Shisui, and Itachi who has been slightly changed. Standing at the gate of the Uchiha clan, Bajian looked at the people living in his own small world with expressionless faces. He will come only because Itachi is alone, and just one sentence from him. Sometimes the word, friend, is not just to talk about it. After a long time together, in addition to the strength that grows together rapidly, there are fetters and friendship between the two. Itachi is lonely. Before Shisui came back from the border between the water country and the fire country, the only person he could talk to was Bajian. At the moment, the atmosphere in the Uchiha clan is very good. People coming and going are making preparations for the birthday of the patriarch's wife. Of course, in this world, a woman's birthday is not particularly fanciful. Fugaku did this because of the child in Uchiha Makoto's belly. It's not too much to celebrate. Itachi didn't let Bajian wait too long. After learning that he was here, Itachi had already come to the gate of the tribe without stopping to greet his friends. This is a true friend. Yi Bajian. Aside from the grievances of the ethnic group, people who can make heart-to-heart. Shisui, it can be said that Itachi's life mentor is more appropriate. The later Itachi is more like a continuation of Shisui. Shisui handed his eyes to Itachi, and while Itachi protected the village, the more he must guard Uchiha. But after all, the Uchiha clan was destroyed. It fell to Konoha's intolerance and some conspirators' calculations. Sorry, I was a bit late because I was hosting guests at home. Habitual apologies. This is the instinctive courtesy of the young Itachi. Bajian didn't say anything, and followed Itachi to the inside of the Uchiha clan. At this moment, Uchiha has not yet migrated to the periphery of Konoha, and the family area is not large or small, but it can be readily available. Just walking in the Uchiha clan, Bajian had a thought that came to mind involuntarily. I'm here and look around. As if the entire Uchiha was surrounded by Konoha, there was even an illusion of being swallowed. Shaking his head, Bajian didn't bother to think about these questions. Uchiha's problem, Konoha's problem, what to do with him. Live, make a few friends, and confidants. This is enough. He only wants so much. If this terrible village can't even tolerate this, then I'm sorry, Konoha doesn't need to exist. After crossing several streets, the two came to the home of the patriarch of the Uchiha clan. After the guests glanced at Bajian, they lost interest. It's just a kid. Although he is a friend of the patriarch's son, he is not Uchiha. It is not Uchiha, and there is no need to talk. Instead, the eyes of Uchiha Fugaku and Uchiha Makoto stayed on Bajian for a long time. An old father with the brilliance of maternal love, one hand holding his slightly bulged belly, and the other with a firm face and an admiring look. His eyes crossed with Uchiha Fugaku, and Bajian nodded politely. Uchiha Fugaku, Bajian, will not comment casually. If you insist on describing it, he was qualified as a father, but failed as a patriarch. Indulging his son to kill himself and his people, but for the two children. As a father, he did his best, but I am sorry to the tribe. Until his death, he did not find the only way to survive in the conflict between Konoha and the Uchiha clan. I really want to see my brother sooner. Looking at his mother's belly, Itachi had the unique obsession of Brokon in his eyes. Even if Sasuke hadn't been born yet, he believed that the younger brother must be in his mother's belly. Rather than saying that this is the traditional Brokon attribute of the Uchiha clan, it is better to say that the impact of the new life brought by relatives when they are born allows Itachi to find the value and meaning of existence. The party begins. The atmosphere began to warm up gradually. The guests walked to the patriarch and said flattering words, while the pregnant woman Makoto laughed beside him. She is clearly a pregnant woman, so she should pay more attention to rest during this period, but she has been with her for the sake of her husband's face. As a wife, she does her duty. When it was Bajian's turn, he picked up the glass and pulled Itachi, and he came to Fugaku and Makoto. Happy birthday, auntie. No more nonsense. Bajian drank the glass in his hand and turned away. You friend. Looking at the kid's back, Fugaku seemed to say with emotion, very character. It's Itachi's friend after all. Makoto's face was full of maternal radiance. Outside the yard, Itachi found Bajian looking at the branches of sakura in a daze with a habitual apology on his face. The heavy snow melted overnight. The seedlings on the sakura flower tree represent new life. You go back, I'm here waiting for you. It's not good not to be with your son on your mother's birthday. Shaking his head, Bajian drew out his saber. I just can't stand the atmosphere. Take a step forward, hack and hack to continue. After Itachi left, a small figure suddenly showed a small face from behind the tree not far away. Iconic big eyes. Cute little face. Her name is Uchiha Kwan, the girl next door who sneaked out with her father to celebrate the birthday of the patriarch's wife. Ask for a ticket. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 10 The King of Flat Cutting, one of the characteristics of cutting people. Still 2,000 hacks. The boy tirelessly started his own practice under the Sakura flower tree. His practice method is never restricted by location. Chop, chop and chop, until he can chop over the world. Have the power to truly make yourself free and unrestricted. And the girl with her small head looked at the man curiously. From the initial doubt to the shock later, the girl's eyes gradually change. In the early spring sun, the figure of the young man wielding a knife and the sight of the young girl peeking together form a strange picture. The fly in the ointment is that the Sakura flower tree is still in bud at this moment, and you can't see the scene of the Sakura flower flying. I don't know how long it took. Bajian stopped and sat down under the Sakura flower tree, grabbing the wine gourd and lifting it to the girl. A bite? As soon as he said it, Bajian felt something was wrong and shook his head quickly. Sorry, I'm used to it, you really can't drink this thing. What did this guy say? Uchiha Kwan walked to Bajian curiously. You are not from the Uchiha clan. She knows all the children of the Uchiha clan, but Bajian is a strange face. Yi Bajian. The young man took a sip of wine and introduced himself casually. After lightly jumping up his head and glanced at the girl, a touch of clarity appeared in his eyes. Uchiha Springs. A sad girl. Said she was sad, but slightly happier than the Uchiha people who were killed. At least in the true biography of Itachi, Tsukuyomi of Itachi, let her experience a complete life. Life with the person you like, but that is just an original bridge. The true history is sadness that cannot be concealed and is full of cruelty. Before being killed by Obito, she was still calling Itachi's name. But now, the girl in front of her will not be long before she will become her classmate. Bajian doesn't know whether she is passing by or will there be a staggered fate. Everything goes with the flow. Lifting his head, the ferret in the distance has already rushed over. Bajian glanced at the daily mission and stood up. Chopping progress. 897 2000ths. The practice is not over yet. Then is the real start. However, his cultivation method with Itachi is not suitable for this Sakura flower tree, otherwise this year's vernal equinox I am afraid that the Sakura flower will not bloom. Bajian also thought of coming to see the scene of Sakura dancing. Watching Bajian and Itachi leave, Uchiha Kwan shook his head. What a weird person. Time passed day by day. The atmosphere in Konoha village suddenly became weird. From the mouth of the villagers, we often hear about the missing children of whose family. From Anko's mouth, Bajian also confirmed one thing. Orochimaru became more and more frantic. According to Bajian's calculation, his living corpse reincarnation has reached the most critical moment. This means that he is about to defect. And Anko will become more and more dangerous, becoming the first experiment of the heavenly curse seal. Konoha Training Ground, 1997, 1998, 1999, 2000. Ding. The daily tasks are completed, and the progress of your King of Level slashing template is increased by 0.2%. Ding. Congratulations, host, your first King of Flat slashing template has reached 5% progress. Turn on the King of Flat slashing feature. Do you start random sampling? The sweaty figure was panting quickly. And the Itachi next to him, it takes a lot of effort to speak when he is tired. Jonsong, are you going to die? His face was helpless, with a little shock. Itachi no longer knew what to say, and he didn't know how to remind his good friend to pay attention to his body. Jonsong today seems to be crazy. Since arriving at the training ground in the morning, he hasn't stopped swinging the knife. After suffering, he has been following the rhythm, and his tired hands have lost consciousness. I have a reason to become stronger. After a sigh of relief, Bajian said in a low voice. A person can see oneself clearly only before he is dying, but to see clearly, it seems to me that he understands how weak he is. So weak that I can only lament that I can't change anything. And me, there won't be that day, because I will never die. Orochimaru's rebellion is coming, and the Nine Tails rebellion is also coming. Zaraki Kenpachi's 5% template power will bring a qualitative change to his strength. Draw. Ding. Congratulations to the host for extracting features. Enhancement, Chakra Blade. Chakra Blade? Bajian frowned and looked over curiously. Chakra Blade. One of the powerful flat-cutting characteristics. Host can control chakra attribute changes at will, and attach it to the weapon to attack. Note. Host has the top chakra attribute change interest, and under the same chakra attribute change, no one can surpass Host. Very strong flat-cutting characteristics. The introduction of Chakra Blade is not difficult to understand. The meaning is obvious. Starting today, his knife can be attached to attack by adding various chakra attributes at will. For example, Wind-style Spiral Shuriken, in his case, will become Wind-style Flat Cut. And the following note also emphasizes that the same chakra attribute change, his leveling priority is superior to everything. To make an analogy, the same applies to Spiral Shuriken, his is stronger than the opponent. This is to strengthen the Chakra Blade, strong outrageous. With his eyes bright, he felt Chakra Bajian inside his body let out a low growl. Immediately afterwards, he slashed at the rockery in the training ground in front of him. 10 sheets, now. If the flowers and evaluation votes are added, just add them, no matter how many, it will be 3 chapters before the evening. Reader, where are you? Add more, add more. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 11 When the Beast Met Another Beast. You have been a little blatant recently. In the dark root base, Shimura Danzo, known as the Konoha Pot King, frowned when he looked at the man in front of him. What the hell are you going to do? With a haze in his eyes, Danzo asked again. The experiment of studying Hashirama cells and transplanting them into one's own body has been completed. But the other party's demand for experimental subjects has become even greater. And even if it is to cultivate ninjas who can control wood style, this kind of big project has already been completed. A is an example. However, Orochimaru is still studying day after day. In his dark laboratory, even if he heard the screams, his scalp tingled. Want to live, live longer. Sticking out the disgusting tongue, Orochimaru had a crazy smile on his face. Living corpse reincarnation is about to complete. He knew he would leak out sooner or later, but before leaving, he had to speed up the completion of the ninjutsu he created. For longevity. To live. From the Second Ninja War and Yamagaku Hanzo's battle, and later led the Konoha shinobi troops to guard Kikyo Mountain to the death. He did too much for Konoha. But he didn't get anything. People's respect. That thing will fade over time, and it will have no substantial effect. On the way to the battle, he saw too many deaths. From the death of his parents to the mission, there are fewer ninjas around Kikyo Mountain. The meaning of life is to live to live. Only by living a long time can he study various ninjutsu and do what he likes to do. He will only grow stronger if he lives for a long time. In short, he has realized it. Comprehend his life motto. Only when you are alive can you have output. I won't stay in Konoha for too long. When the experiment is completed, the teacher should notice. Recovered from his thoughts, Orochimaru's expression gradually calmed down. I will notify you when I find a suitable place. By the way, I want one person's information, all the information. Material. Konoha. Besides Uchiha Itachi, are there anyone else you are interested in? Danzo frowned. Who? Yi Bajian, the kid adopted by my lovely apprentice. The night is dark and the wind is high. A figure from Midarashi's family wearing a black cloak once again came to the training ground during the day. After practicing during the day, after swinging that sword, his stamina finally reached the extreme, and he felt tired. In the end, Itachi dragged his tired body and sent him home. After all, he is only 5 years old. Relying on the chakra extracted from the body, as well as physical fitness, it is good to be able to successfully achieve additional characteristics when exhausted. But he was not sure of the power of that knife. I just vaguely remember that the rockery fell in two. After a sleep, his physical strength has recovered. Bajian eagerly wants to know the effective lethality of the characteristic. This is very important. In Konoha, it's not that you can use your own moves as you like. Always beware of people watching you in the dark. For example, it's okay to use the crystal ball to watch the third Hokage of the female soup. Therefore, it is the last time to use characteristics to test attack power during the day. Not to hide one's hand. It is when he needs to show his combat effectiveness, so everyone is caught off guard. Pretend to be a pig and eat a tiger. It doesn't exist, he just doesn't want to cause trouble. Although 4th Hokage Namikaze Minato is still in power, 3rd Hokage did not choose to return home to provide for the elderly. Instead, he listened to politics in the Hokage office. Ha ha, a village, 2 Hokage make decisions together. What purpose is personally clear. 3rd generation is not laid off. Even promoting Namikaze Minato to become the 4th Hokage is helpless. Because Konoha was consumed too much in the Third Ninja War, he stepped down under Danzo's pressure. The only thing that can be retired is the title, and the power is still in his hands. Bajian, who is in the developmental stage, does not want to be watched by the high-level Konoha too early. Landing lightly in the training ground, looking at the collapsed rockery, Bajian stretched out his hand and stroked the extremely smooth cut on it, finally showing a smile. For that knife, he used the chakra attribute change of the wind, which raised the cutting effect of the chakra blade to the apex. The lethality is very good, the sharpness of this cutting, ordinary weapons simply cannot resist. As he grows older, the lack of physical strength and chakra will be supplemented, and his leveling characteristics will be infinitely amplified by then. Nodding satisfied, Bajian stood up. He already knows the lethality of the characteristic. He also had a general understanding of his own combat effectiveness. As the king of flat slashing, how he inherited the Zaraki Kenpachi template depends on whether he is willing to fight with death. In the real battle, he can exert his real strength. From the Shinigami world, the power of evil spirits. After clearing the traces on the ground, Bajian was about to leave. Suddenly a cold breath instantly made him turn his head and hold the knife in his hand. Dark, wild, evil. There is only one man with such a temperament in Konoha village. Orochimaru. Perception is very strong. When the figure slowly walked out from behind the tree, Bajian's pupils contracted slightly. It's not perception. When a beast meets another beast, it will be aware of it. Beast. This kid's judgment of himself is very vivid. Oh, there are 3 more flowers, Shingba, plus more, send it first. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 12 Get the secret of your body. The night time is quite suitable for hunting wild animals. He walked to Bajin very relaxed, and for the first time, Orochimaru looked seriously at this little-known kid. There is no limit to blood succession, and it does not belong to any ethnic group. War orphans left over from the Third Ninja War. Except for the ferocity shown by the eldest kid who bullied you when I was young, and almost bit the man's neck, which was unremarkable. The tongue squirmed up and down his lips, and the curious look in Orochimaru's eyes became more intense. But just such an ordinary kid, when he was 5 years old, he could even change the attributes of chakra that most Jonin can't control. Also, that stable and unspeakable sword technique. Why is that? Holding his shoulders, Orochimaru's tone was full of appreciation. Yes. Squatting in the laboratory, Orochimaru looked surprised after seeing all of Bajin's information. Whether it is the father or the mother, or the ancestors above the father and mother, there is no answer to the so-called blood inheritance boundary race. Going up, third generation, are the civilians of Konoha. Both parents are Chunin. In the Third Ninja World War, Chunin and Genin were just ordinary cannon fodder. A child who is a cannon fodder, shouldn't he be an ordinary person all his life, right? Blood is everything. This is Orochimaru's research. All of them, who are also civilians, have been immersed in research, wanting to sublimate his bloodline. Living corpse reincarnation is the result of research. Uchiha Itachi was also his first prey. It's night, and while third generation doesn't use the crystal ball to spy, you should grab more kids as experiment subjects instead of here. In line with Orochimaru's actions, Bajin calmed down with his arms. It even pierced Orochimaru's human experiment directly. Confidence comes from strength. Full-body Zaraki Kenpachi's 5% strength Bajin has never fully demonstrated, but evil spirits are evil spirits. The roaring evil spirit is fearless in the fight. Inheriting his power, as long as he dares, 5% can forcefully leave something on Orochimaru. But he firmly believed that Orochimaru did not dare to really fight against Konoha. That was because he found himself uncomfortable and would expose his human experiments in advance. So Orochimaru came here to test himself at best. In that case, what is there to be afraid of Bajin? And Orochimaru appeared here, without directly doing it. You know a lot. The pupils shrank for a while, and a fierce murderous aura appeared on his body. At this moment, Orochimaru became serious, but his seriousness only lasted for a second before returning to playfulness, following the words just now. A civilian with a bloodline race can't do things. So, Bajin-kun, I really want to know your secret. As for the night you said is suitable for abducting test items, I think the best test item for the time being is you. Shulking snake hand. Huh. Reaching out his hand and slamming it towards Yi Bajin, Orochimaru's cuffs flew out of a few ferocious pythons with teeth and claws. Shulker snake hand. Cold Kun Orochimaru's iconic tentative offensive method. But this trick poses no threat to Bajin. As always, it was no different from the sword swing of Itachi during training. With just a single knife, the sharp cold light directly cut the giant snake's head off. Put away the children's toys, Mr. Snake. Looking at Orochimaru calmly in front of him, Bajin shook his saber. Facing Orochimaru, he didn't panic at all. Especially the more he got behind, the less panic he got. It is best for Orochimaru to perform living corpse reincarnation a few more times. At that time, he is more confident to crush each other randomly. The reason is simple. His knife. It's not just as simple as flat cutting. Who is Zaraki Kenpachi? Gode 13th Division, Captain of the Combat Division. It's Shinigami. Shinigami has countless methods for souls, among which blasting is the most common slash. It is at this moment that Bajin's hands have transformed into Zanpakuto's blade. That's right. He unlocked 5% of Zaraki Kenpachi's strength, and the novice saber gifted by the system became the basic Zanpakuto. Even if it was Zaraki Kenpachi, he couldn't do without Bankai's Shinigami in the early stage. That was Shinigami. Shinigami's Zanpakuto is the most effective way to target the soul. The temptation is not over yet. Reaching out of thin air, a sharp small sword fell into Orochimaru's hands. This is Konoha training ground. If the action is too big, it will attract the attention of the ninja, which Orochimaru knows very well. Compared with Bajin, he doesn't want to show his feet now and let the higher-ups notice him. So using swordsmanship is the best choice. By the way, he wants to see how strong this young man is with his sword skills. Ding ding. The figures interlaced briefly, and a battle that was not evenly matched started. He couldn't make a full shot, but Orochimaru was confident to suppress the opponent, grab him, and then take him to his laboratory to study the secret of the kid's body in front of him. Fail? Never thought about it. Boy, I'm Orochimaru. I am eyeing you, you are my prey, as Bajin said. When two beasts meet, it is bound to cause a battle. Shingba, my goodness, I didn't add a flower. The little author is still adding more. Now, the second chapter is here, and it is also the 12th chapter of the first day. The sign-in is already done. Didn't the reader scream? Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 13 Bajin-kun. Are you interested in being a betrayal? The moonlight in early spring is not so bright. The newly melted snow exudes a chilly breath at night due to changes in temperature. Inside the Konoha training ground, the training equipment placed there has been rolled and shattered, and the big tree with the target carved has been cut off. On both sides of the rugged old tree pole, two figures face each other in the air. Two shadows reflected on the ground in the moonlight. One big and one small, looks very abrupt, but the masters of the two shadows have the same temperament. Wildness. Wild. Yi Bajian and Orochimaru. Holding a pheasant sword, Orochimaru's face is nothing but admiration. Unparalleled swordsmanship. Although there is only one attack method, it is extremely effective. There is only one person in Orochimaru's impression of swinging the knife to such an extent. Hitaki Shumo, a man known as Konoha's White Fang. His strength can bring Hokage half-sleeves, but a few years ago, Konoha's White Fang's teeth were already dead, and he was sprayed to death. And now, the kid in front of him reminded Orochimaru of that man again.
Swordsmanship is superb, but it is different. White Fang's knife is a murderous knife.
The little devil's knife in front of him is full of wild and unruly. Sometimes it is free and easy like the wind, and sometimes it destroys everything like thunder and lightning. But what Orochimaru saw from Yi Bajian was the unrelenting fierceness and aggressiveness.
Cut and slash indefinitely, until death, without leaving a wound on the back. It's strange, it's obviously a kid, it's so tricky. Looking at the moon, I roughly calculated the time. Orochimaru sighed slightly. To be honest, he is not good at swordsmanship. Although I have studied with Senior White Fang for a while.
But his body is more suitable for releasing ninjutsu, destined to not be too strong.
Right now, although he was confident that he could quickly catch the opponent with all his strength, he would inevitably alarm Konoha's enchantment.
Living corpse reincarnation still has the final stage. Some important information has not had time to transfer within the base. It is not sensible to alarm the high level. Therefore, there is only one choice. But obviously, giving up was only temporary, and Yi Bajian's existence aroused his great interest. The stronger the opponent's potential burst out, the greater his interest.
He suddenly came up with an idea. I admit, Bajian-kun, I underestimated you.
Taking a deep breath, Orochimaru's murderous intent disappeared instantly, but a wicked smile appeared, and the pheasant sword was retracted.
Bajian-kun. As a polite respect, Orochimaru will not hide this appreciation when he appreciates a person. Just as he stares at a person, he will tell you openly that I am interested in your body. This is Orochimaru, who does not hide his ambitions, nor is he afraid that others will know his ambitions.
In his eyes, there is only scientific research, but Bajian-kun, my interest in you has grown a lot.
The unconcealable greed flashed away, and Orochimaru stretched out his hand. Then, may I ask you a question, are you interested in being a betrayal?
Leave this hypocritical village with me. This is an unreasonable question. But that's what he asked, and desperately wanted the answer from Bajian's mouth. Aren't you afraid that I will go to Hokage to expose you to the village? Bajian asked with a sneer. You won't, because your body has no less secrets than me.
Orochimaru smiled, sarcasm in his smile. Everyone saw that the village was full of warm sunshine, but he had known too many things after spending so many years in Konoha. If the higher-ups, even if Danzo knows Bajian's hidden strength, then this kid's life will become a mess in the future. This is for sure. Konoha never needs a fighting power beyond his control. How about leaving this village? You will find a wider sky, and you will also find how narrow your eyes were before.
Bajian-kun, are you interested in being a traitor? Orochimaru sent out an invitation again. Betrayal? Who betrayed? Konoha. Bajian laughed. This village has nothing to do with me. I can get a short-term asylum. It's just a humble extravagance in exchange for the death of my parents. This village is never worthy of my faith, so how can I betray you? Mr. Snake, shouldn't you be proud of being a betrayal? And leaving Konoha to pursue your dream? Is this really betrayal? If you want to betray and become a betrayal, just go ahead. Please destroy it, or be destroyed by it. Are you proud of being a traitor? Please destroy it, or be destroyed by it. It is Konoha. What kind of vision made this child ask such a question? Orochimaru suddenly calmed down. Betray the village, or be betrayed by the village. The word betrayal represents a lot. But the so-called betrayal cannot be summed up in a few sentences. Is it really a betrayal to leave the village to pursue your dreams? He was silent. The pheasant sword was completely hidden in the cuff, and Orochimaru, who had always been proud of his knowledge, suddenly felt a little dull. Before that, he was still fortunate that the defection plan was completed. But now, the boy's words made him briefly confused. What he has always valued is so worthless. Turning his back, Orochimaru wanted to go back to his laboratory and calm down. But when he turned around, Yi Bajian's voice came again. Maybe when I can't stay in this village, I will go to you.
Is this his answer? The light in Orochimaru's eyes flickered. Don't worry, there will be one day. A person like you will never be trapped by mere Konoha, and your wildness is not suitable for here. However, Kenpachi-kun. With sharp eyes, Orochimaru instantly turned around and stared at Bajian fiercely with a ferocious face, staring at the little devil who disturbed his mind by these few words. When the time comes, please be careful with me. Because I can't help but want to kill you. ... Phew, the third chapter is completed. Thank you for supporting the author's book, thank you. The 13 chapters on the first day are completed. I hope you can continue to support the author. I am grateful. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 14 Danzo. We still have a chance. In the training ground shrouded in darkness, only Bajian was left.
Orochimaru has gone. To be sure, through today's conversation and preliminary tests, Orochimaru has thoroughly become interested in him. But Yi Bajian is not afraid. His strength is growing every day, and given him time, the so-called threat will no longer exist. And today's tough dialogue with Orochimaru, in Bajian's view, is very necessary. On the one hand, drawing Orochimaru's attention to oneself may seem like a hassle, but Orochimaru will leave Konoha soon. On the other hand, he would not appear to be okay to report to Konoha's senior management about himself. This is more like a potential agreement with each other. In the future, Bajian will go to Orochimaru to have a good chat. Of course, only then will he decide who is the real prey. Are you looking for him? The root base, the entrance of Orochimaru's laboratory? Danzo obviously wanted to get something out of Orochimaru's mouth, so he waited here early. There are not many imps who can be requested by Orochimaru for information on the initiative of Konoha. As the root leader, Danzo obviously cares about this kind of thing. He wanted to know what was different about that little devil named Yi Bajian. It's just a funny kid. Mr. Snake has returned to normal, staring at Danzo coldly with beastly eyes. Boring person. There is ambition, but there is no power to match the ambition.
This is his evaluation of Danzo. Especially now, he sees this more thoroughly.
It's okay, please come back, I don't want to be disturbed in my experiment. Frowning, Danzo obviously didn't expect Orochimaru to become so cold.
Of course something happens. Taking a deep breath, Danzo looked serious. You have been a little safe lately. Sarutobi and 4th generation have begun investigating the disappearance of the child.
This is the problem again. Orochimaru stared at Danzo, a question he never wanted to explain a second time. What about the investigation? He will leave sooner or later, it's just a matter of time. The experiment has reached its final stage, and he has no reason to stop. At most half a year, Konoha will have a change, you still have a chance. Danzo looked solemn and pointed his finger at the sky. That position, isn't it what you have always expected? This is an opportunity. That location? Orochimaru suddenly smiled. His smile was full of ridicule and disdain for the root leader in front of him. Isn't that position what you have always expected? The neck suddenly stretched, and then directly wrapped around Danzo's neck. Orochimaru's gaze was inhumane, even with a trace of murderous aura. Danzo, do you think I, Orochimaru, will obediently become a puppet in the confrontation between you and the teacher like Minato? Orochimaru is far smarter than Danzo thought. The moment Danzo spoke, he knew what the other party was preparing. A change determines the change of that location. Danzo still feels that he has not given up that position until now. Yes. After the third ninja war, his voice for becoming Naruto is no less than Namikaze Minato. But Mr. Sarutobi chose Namikaze Minato, which has better control. And his ideal of becoming Hokage was over at that moment. Sorry, I'm not interested in Hokage anymore. The position you were longing for is not as good as an experiment report in my opinion. When Danzo was released, Orochimaru walked into his laboratory alone. And at the moment he stepped in, he suddenly owed his body again, and turned his head 360 degrees to look at the dazed Danzo, but if it is to destroy it, I am very interested. Winter has passed completely. The sunshine in spring is extremely warm. Bajian's life became regular, practicing day after day, sweating with Itachi on the training ground. On this day, Itachi appeared outside Midarashi's house early in the morning and waited. After Bajian, wearing a martial arts uniform, came out, he quickly walked up to the opponent and took out something similar to a pass. Ninja school opens today, and the admission procedures have already been done for us by Father. There was a warm smile on his face. This time, Itachi directly avoided some sensitive questions. Let your father help us to take it all at once. After all, Bajian is an orphan. His sister Anko looked a little dazed. These things, he will do better and more appropriate. Are you going to school? After receiving the admission notice, Bajian fell into deep thought. Orochimaru did not reveal anything about his strength, as he expected, so he was not noticed by the senior management. However, Konoha's sensation was directly caused by Itachi's enrollment and graduation from the ninja school in just 1 year. At that time, the senior management should pay attention to themselves, who is closer to Itachi. A year? It seems, enough. Putting away the notice, Bajian nodded to Itachi, and the two figures walked towards the ninja school. Zanpakuto stroking himself. Bajian's body trembled slightly. Not afraid, but the kind of eagerness to fight and excitement. Since being noticed is inevitable, then, let the ground under your feet tremble because of him. Ask for votes. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 15 Hokage is not Hokage. Master 3rd Generation, the information about the missing children in the investigation report are all here. Konoha Hokage building. The entire village serves as a place of authority. The blonde Namikaze Minato sorted the files and pushed them aside. Looking around, Minato looked a little helpless in his eyes. A Naruto desk. It is used by 2 people. Such Hokage seemed to be quite different from what he expected. And these files, as Hokage, he can't call the shots. Although following the clues, one person can obviously be identified. But that person is not something he can move. Ridiculous. As Hokage, the decision is in the body of the previous generation. Sure enough. Sweeping the contents above, 3rd Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen showed a little sadness on his face. Unconsciously picking up the pipe next to him, lighted it, and sprayed a heavy cigarette into the office. Minato frowned slightly and moved aside, but the power brought by the big smoke gun can't be avoided if you want to hide in this small office. The harm of second-hand smoke is far higher than that of first-hand smoke. But what can he say? Kushina is still pregnant. Before Minato goes home every day, he will cleanse outside alone for an hour before entering the house. Although I want to cough hard, and then tell 3rd generation not to smoke in public, this is disrespectful to other people. But after all, he did not speak, because since the last time he got news that it was the 3rd generation's son who was kicked out for smoking in a public place, he thought that 3rd generation would understand a little bit how much his behavior is a source of criticism. After mentioning it repeatedly, 3rd generation didn't take it seriously. From becoming 4th Hokage at the top to the present, he has seen too many things. This Naruto, when it didn't go well, Namikaze Minato is a little envious of the kid who did Sarutobi Asuma. Yi Bajian. Just because of this incident, he remembered the other's name. Like him, he is endangered by second-hand smoke. The difference is that the child was not restrained and did what he wanted to do but didn't dare to do. Use actions to express your dissatisfaction. Yi Bajian dared to shoot directly in the face of second-hand smoke, but he couldn't. Let's put this aside beforehand. If there is no real evidence that can be finalized, don't be surprised. Put the documents in a drawer next to him, and then Sarutobi naturally locked the drawer, and slowly raised his head to look at Minato. Speaking of which, today is the opening day of the ninja school. The sad face appeared a little relieved just now, and the speed of change made Minato seem a little numb. The old man is the honorary principal of the Konoha Shinobi School. I should visit this time. Standing up, 3rd generation snorted another heavy cigarette and looked at Minato. Let's go, Yongtai sister, it's necessary to be an excellent next generation master of Hokage. It's also where you want to learn. It's this kind of preaching tone again. Although I'm used to it, Minato always feels a little awkward. For example, he accidentally heard that Master 3rd Hokage changed some of the content in the ninja school textbook. However, it's good to go out and get some air. Since becoming Hokage, he has rarely had the opportunity to leave the office to escape secondhand smoke. Nodding his head, Namikaze Minato followed 3rd generation and left the smoky office. The moment he stepped out, his footsteps visibly accelerated and he stood in front of 3rd Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen. Perhaps this is his last stubbornness in front of outsiders. He is Konoha's Hokage. For Minato's behavior, 3rd generation did not react strangely. Quietly left the office. Konoha Shinobi School. The place where each ninja first began to practice. In the New Year's school, the children came to this magical place accompanied by their parents. It is different from many children. Under the swing at the school gate, the 2 teenagers attracted widespread attention. One of the faces was deep and mature though was not suitable for his age, and under the decree lines was the iconic little boy face. The other has sharp, unruly eyes, a saber pierced across his waist, and a dark martial arts uniform. The former, Uchiha Itachi. Many children have heard his name countless times from their parents. The young genius, the son of the patriarch of the Uchiha clan, even went to battle with his father and witnessed the cruelty of war. Outstanding is outrageous. But no matter from that angle, the outstanding young man at this time is centered on the young man with the saber next to him, and smiles at the young man with the saber from time to time. It seems that his existence can give Itachi a lot of peace of mind. Yi Bajian and Uchiha Itachi. This is the first day of school. Busy teachers are recording information, while parents are earnestly instructing children to pay attention to matters. Suddenly, people suddenly became agitated. Bajian and Itachi also followed people's gazes. 2 figures appeared at the end of the street. Namikaze Minato, Sarutobi Hiruzen. Yi Bajian murmured and turned his head to look at the ferret. Let's go, the Lord is here. Well, it's the end of the month, the author dares to ask for a monthly pass. Just one. At least give the author a reason to add more. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 16 Itachi. I'm sorry, Naruto-sama, the strongest new student is not me. Young people are the hope for the future. People of the older generation must trust and guard them. The sacrifices of the older generation are not meaningless, but they will inspire the young to become the pillars of the future. These are the narrations of the will to fire in the old man's heart. Summing them up is the words and essays written by the old man. Where the leaves fly, the fire is endless. The fire will continue to illuminate the village and let the new leaves germinate. True will of fire. Every year, freshmen will receive the teachings of 3rd Hokage on the first day of school. The prestigious name is to guide the growth direction of the new generation. The chattering as always, but below, the children who didn't know the meaning clearly listened with gusto. Only the eyes of Itachi beside Bajian were a little confused. Pulling Bajian's sleeves gently, Itachi leaned into the ear and whispered, "Knight, you didn't tell me yesterday that if you put fire style in the woods this season, the village would have to be burned down." It was yesterday. He excitedly told Bajian that he had learned the Great Fireball from his father and wanted to show his friend what the other party said. Unfortunately, Great Fireball was not released after all. Yes. The will of fire is nothing short of a sick sentence, but 3rd generation promotes his own poems everywhere. When the woods catch fire, it is not to illuminate the village, but to burn the village all up. Very good comprehension. Bajian patted Itachi on the shoulder with satisfaction. The metaphor has some problems, but the truth is such a truth. Since it is a metaphor, let's make a bold guess. Comparing Konoha to a forest, what is the source of the flame? The source of the flame? Itachi's eyes narrowed. Yes, the Uchiha clan, the iconic fire clan. If Konoha is burned, it is the Uchiha clan. Guess what will happen next? With a mysterious smile, Bajian's words left the most profound stroke in Itachi's heart. The fire that burns Konoha comes from Uchiha. The young Itachi obviously didn't understand the deeper meaning. His eyes were lost again. At this age, he often considers issues from the perspective of Hokage. Suddenly a little can't accept such a forced setting. The village, Konoha. Father's sigh, villagers' opinions on Uchiha. Bajian did not continue to say anything. Itachi's life is a tragedy, and those tragedies cannot be changed casually. Bajian didn't know what the seeds he left in Itachi's heart would bring. At least what Bajian wants to change is the importance of Uchiha and Konoha in Itachi's mind. What will happen to Bajian can say this. Itachi clenched his fist, suddenly a little frightened. Don't worry, no matter what happens, I will stand behind you. Leaving a sentence that made Itachi full of doubts, Bajian leaned against the tree and closed his eyes. For him, instead of listening to 3rd generation nonsense, it is better to immerse yourself in the refinement of chakra. Chakra refining technique was exchanged from the system Mul, which is an upgraded version of ordinary refining technique. During the refining process, the original energy of the cell can be basically not consumed, so as not to damage the root. This alone has made Bajian's foundation higher than other peers. Like him, the refining technique used by Itachi is also this one. After all, Bajian makes a hypothesis that whether the serious illness of the later it comes from cell depletion still needs to be verified. It was just a refining technique that made Itachi become less imaginary, and it was a gift to his friends. It's not a big deal. However, it may be that the status of the two is too different from that of other freshmen. The 3rd generation on the stage suddenly frowned and glanced over. After staring, 3rd generation suddenly thought of something. Are the genius teenagers of the Uchiha clan also enrolled in this group? Suddenly he beckoned to Itachi kindly. 3rd generation's eyes were full of kindness. Come, stand by my side. What is the 3rd generation master going to do? Minato, standing next to him, frowned. He knew the relationship between the Uchiha clan and Konoha very well in his heart, although on the surface it was still passable, but it was limited to the surface. The real situation is full of contradictions. Especially 3rd Hokage, he will never have a good impression of Uchiha's genius boy. What's the point of him calling the other party up? Minato wondered. Itachi also didn't understand.
But the words of Hokage-sama are orders in Konoha.
Although 3rd generation has abdicated, Itachi is not a kid who doesn't understand the real situation. Nodded, Itachi walked to the stage and stood next to 3rd generation. I often heard Fugaku mention that he has a son who makes him extremely proud. Patting Itachi's head, 3rd generation said gently, I followed my father to the battlefield at the age of 3. After coming back, he has improved by leaps and bounds, and he has even become proficient in Master Shuriken. In the eyes of the old man, the ninja school will be full of your deeds in the next few years, as the most potential, and even the strongest freshman known as a genius. What do you think of the will of fire that the old man just mentioned? Cheer up. Don't underestimate the jealousy that Konoha village children have after complimenting Hokage. Uchiha is not so harmonious with the villagers, and Uchiha's genius boy will be jealous because of Hokage's praise. This is the power of a politician, just a few words. The current Itachi obviously couldn't see this meaning, and his face turned red to accept Hokage's praise. But 3rd generation has a layer of card counting wrong. He said the wrong thing. The shy Itachi scratched his head, then his lil head shook violently. Thank you 3rd generation for the compliment, but... Sorry, Master Naruto. With him, Itachi never felt that he would become the strongest freshman. Peas, thank you for the monthly pass that hurts the boss, gone. Today I have more reasons to add it. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 17 Me, Yi Bajian, please advise. He is there. Itachi never felt that he would become the strongest freshman. In a word, it reveals someone's position in Itachi's heart. All the freshmen and teachers present were all surprised. Who is he talking about? Uchiha Itachi, a genius boy who has been talked about by everyone before he even enters the school, is such a person so admired? Follow Uchiha Itachi's gaze. A wild boy leaning against a tree, stroking a saber, carrying a wine gourd and about to pour it into his mouth, caught everyone's attention. Out of place, but with a single aura, he stood there, so different. With the arrogance that is not available at this age. Probably, people should have noticed him long ago. But now, that attention has become a surprise. Someone who can really be affirmed by Uchiha. Who is he? Sarutobi Hiruzen paused and looked at Namikaze Minato next to him. Itachi's answer disrupted his rhythm and plan. The cheating effect has completely disappeared. Even, he also lost the opportunity to teach Minato, such as teaching Minato too high and Uchiha's checks and balances. Yi Bajian, I mentioned it to you. There was a conflict with your son, Asuma, because Asuma smoked at the meatball shop and choked his sister Mitarashi Anko. With Sarutobi Hiruzen, partner, Hokage for so long, he understands what the third-generation master thinks of him. He wants to know the origin of that boy, but he has clearly spoken to the other side many times. It turned out to be him. Sarutobi looked back at Yi Bajian. He looked at the boy again, and the boy looked at him. His eyes were facing each other, there was no spark as expected, and he just retracted his gaze for a moment. Speaking of Asuma, his son, Sarutobi Hiruzen shook his head. Asuma has left Konoha, he left after quarreling with himself. Said to find the real Jade. But the answer is clearly in Konoha, what is he looking for? How can the real Jade be outside? In the end, he still didn't understand himself, nor did he see the meaning of Jade. It's this kid. Yi Bajian. The kid who got Uchiha Itachi's affirmation. The plan was disrupted, and Sarutobi suddenly lost interest. But the civilian ninja who can surpass Uchiha's talent is worth noting. Patting Itachi's head, Sarutobi smiled hypocritically again, as expected of you, really humble. In general, he didn't get anything. At the moment he saw Itachi, Sarutobi seemed familiar. Itachi carries a low profile that is different from other Uchiha clan. That kind of sunshine reminds Sarutobi of a person. A man of the same Uchiha clan, but willing to merge with Konoha. Uchiha Kagami, and his offspring, Uchiha Shisui. This discovery is very important to Sarutobi. Finally, he glanced at Itachi, and used the corner of his gaze to enclose the big tree where the young man was standing. Yi Bajian carrying a wine gourd, I don't know what to say about you. Hokage's words, no, they came from Konoha's honorary principal, and they were over. Itachi and Bajian were undoubtedly assigned to the elite class. Sitting in the corner of the classroom, Bajian stretched out his index finger and pressed heavily on Itachi's forehead. The sudden pain made Itachi feel aggrieved, and he always felt that this trick shouldn't be Bajian's master skill. But he just did. Is the movement difficult? Bajian shook his head. What can he say? Thousands of calculations, but I didn't expect that it was Itachi that allowed me to get high-level ideas.
Blame, will not. Ferret, the hapless boy, has his own consideration before doing anything. Since he did it, he has his own reasons. And what the reason is, Bajian can also guess some. Give your friends whatever help they can. Let his friends enter the high-level site, and since then he has been favored by Hokage and become the backbone of the village. This is where Itachi can help Bajian. Thinking about it this way, he did it naturally. Uchiha Itachi is such a person, and now Bajian is his ultimate friend. And he didn't think there was a problem with what he said. Bajian is so strong in his heart. Cultivating together for a long time made him understand what kind of person Bajian is. Bajian once told him, since there is only one thing to do, then do it to the top. With such a belief, Itachi doesn't think he can surpass the other person. Several times with Bajian also let Itachi know how strong the opponent is. With him, he will naturally not become the strongest freshman. To tell the truth, let Hokage-sama notice his friends, and even get Hokage's appreciation in the future. Itachi's idea is so simple, but now he doesn't understand the so-called tolerance of Konoha. Premature attention will cause unnecessary trouble. Bajian didn't say anything to blame. It's not necessary. If it was just because of Itachi's words, third generation would order Anbu to give himself an illusionary torture. Then his aura as Hokage is nothing more than that. So there is no need to worry too much. Looking around, the students are making boring self-introductions. This is the rule of the Konoha Shinobi School. Finally arrived at Bajian, and the eyes of the students gathered again. They are also curious about Bajian's name. Slowly stood up, in front of the class teacher Yamazaki Ryuji. Bajian took a bite of the wine gourd, and then gave a wild smile again. Me, Yi Bajian, please advise. Thank you for your 200 VIP rewards, thank you very much. It must be clear to add more arrangements, thanks, little author. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 18 Suddenly a girl with a sword. The concise self-introduction session is over. The name Yi Bajian is destined to be remembered by all students. Surpassed the strongest newly born man appointed by Master Naruto. In other words, that man has been defaulted to be the first freshman. There are many people who are dissatisfied,
but Bajin saw many familiar figures in this elite class. Inuzuka's older sister, Inuzuka Ka, a beautiful vet in the future. There is also the Purple Phantom, the girl who also loves to use swords, Uzu Shion. Sick Rice Seedling's Moonlight Blast. In addition, I saw Uchiha Kwan, the younger sister of Kazilon, after I celebrated Uchiha Makoto's birthday. The above are the students Bajin can remember. Withdraw his eyes and lie on the table. He couldn't listen to a word of the teacher's teachings, especially when Bajin saw the first text in the textbook, and he couldn't help but laughed. Information and Hearing Records of Advanced Hokage. Volume 1. The Strongest Naruto Sarutobi Hiruzen. What is this? Weakly closing the textbook, Bajin slapped himself severely. Sarutobi, who really has you, actually wrote this thing in the textbook. No wonder Konoha has been circulating in the early days of Naruto world that the third generation is the strongest Naruto. Shaking his head, the subject is this thing. Bajin has completely lost interest in watching it. He became a student of the ninja school, but it was just a cutscene. When he gets the ninja forehead protector, everything will be over. As for Sarutobi, there is no doubt that what is written in the textbook is definitely positive. For example, the leader lost the purpose of the second Hokage and won the second ninja war. For another example, due to his active scheduling in the third ninja world war, Konoha won another victory in the multi-party battles of the 4 great ninja villages. In addition, under his governance, Konoha's strength has reached its peak. These are also things that the villagers can see. But each item is not worth digging deeper. In the Second Ninja World War, Konoha only got a superficial victory, paying the price of the entire Senju clan, but not taking Hanzo of the Salamander, but Rain Shinobi village. Let alone the Third Ninja War. If it weren't for the rise of the Golden Glitter, coupled with Orochimaru's strong support of the Kikyo Mountain defense line. Konoha, I'm afraid it's already cold. What does it have to do with third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen? You know, whether it was the Second Ninja War or the third time, Sarutobi just sat on Konoha's desk and smoked. Have you ever studied Iwagakure's Onogi, and even galloped on the battlefield at an age? As a shadow, hiding behind people, he enjoys stability. Konoha's ninjas fought less and less. Of course, Bajin will not belittle a person unilaterally. The existence of Sarutobi stabilized Konoha, and it is true. But it is far from reaching Konoha's strongest point. However, he did protect Konoha with his life in the end. The title of Dang's King, Contradictory Politicians. This is Sarutobi, guarding Konoha, and restricting the power beyond his control and restricting its growth. Probably if these contents appeared in the textbook, he would still be happy to check it out, Yi Bajin. Unfortunately, that situation will never happen. Losing the desire to learn, Bajin lay down on the table and started a new practice. Refining chakra. There are not many courses for freshmen on the first day. After a brief adjustment to the process, it is already afternoon. The afternoon sun always has a desire to drive people to sleep, but Bajin and Itachi came to the training ground. How does it feel to be a student? Suffocating with alcohol, Bajin spit a heavy scent of alcohol on Itachi's face, and then asked with a smile. It's boring, I don't feel like you have gained a lot from practicing on the training ground. Shaking his head, Itachi gave Bajin the answer he expected. Well, use that trick tomorrow. It's a waste of time in school. Bajin nodded. Clear. If it's someone who doesn't understand, it must sound a bit daunting. After all, that is the only way of dialogue between Bajin and Itachi. That trick, naturally Shadow Clone. Although the two of them don't have many chakras, they can't show much combat effectiveness with Shadow Clone, but it is just enough to deal with Chunon's class teacher. As long as you don't do it, you won't be exposed. Itachi is a genius, he is indeed the master with this trick. This is the case in the original book. A few days after school started, he began to use Shadow Clone to learn, and ran to the training ground to practice. After stroking his Zanpakuto slowly, Bajin frowned suddenly and looked at the big tree not far behind him. There, a delicate little purple shoe appeared. Has it been discovered? The girl with the knife bit her lip and stood up. He has long purple hair and stubborn eyes. Maoyue Shion. Amazing girl. What's up? Bajin put aside Zanpakuto and asked calmly. Your sword, isn't it a display? Taking a deep breath, the girl with the sword issued her own question. In the second dimension, knives and swords are collectively called swords. Just like White Fang, some people say that he is unparalleled in swordsmanship, while others say that it is swordsmanship. There is one truth, but the name is different. Has a problem? Facing the girl's problem, Bajin chuckled and shook his knife. He thought that before he was really familiar with it, no one would trouble himself too quickly because of Itachi's words. Obviously, he was wrong. My name is Yue Shion, please enlighten me. Huh. The long sword was drawn, and the girl challenged her with her sword. She must prove herself. Fifth more cent. There will be more changes later. Ask for a ticket, poor. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 19. When holding the knife, he turned into a beast. The atmosphere is a little weird. The spring breeze blew, bringing Yu Dong's only remaining cool air. The girl suddenly couldn't bear it.
Can't bear the calm gaze of the young man carrying the wine gourd. Can't bear it either, the expression of schadenfreude by the decree-patterned teenager next to him. What is he gloating about? Also, why is Yi Bajian so calm? Is it because she is a woman so careless about her challenge? She has been practicing swordsmanship since she was a child, and she has persisted in her dream no matter how hard and tired. She vowed to become a master of Konoha swordsmanship and never slackens. Although he is young, he has been able to play Konoha Ryu swordsmanship in a decent way. Even if the opponent is Uchiha Itachi, she dares to challenge her with words. In fact, this is also the purpose of her coming here, but the challenger has changed. Uchiha Itachi said that the strongest freshman also uses a sword. Based on this alone, she would find her strength as a sword bearer from the challenge, and she also wanted to see if the efforts from small to large are useful. Itachi gloated naturally. Challenge Bajian, please. As far as he knows, at this age, there is only one person who has demonstrated swordsmanship so vividly. That is Bajian. He has heard of Azuki Yuyan, a girl who has inherited Konoha Ryu swordsmanship, and has been very hardworking since she was a child. These, the source and his father gave him in the morning, may become the intelligence of his rivals in the school. But, she is definitely not Bajian's opponent. Okay, I accept your challenge. After a long time, the depressed atmosphere disappeared, and Bajian slowly nodded and closed his eyes. With one hand, Zanpakuto was withdrawn. Knife handle. Blade. Dao Mang. Out of the sheath, unpretentious. But at this moment, Mao Yuxian's expression changed drastically. Accompanied by the young man slowly opened his eyes. She seemed to see an unruly beast. Grim and fierce. It is different from the free and easy before holding the knife. With his hand stroking the scabbard, he has already entered the state. That is a realm that only those who use the same sword can understand. The knife in his hand is not. Instead, sharp claws extend from the fingertips. Is this my opponent? Am I challenging such a person? Even if it is father, there is no such terrible temperament in him. Who is he? Who is he? Fragrant sweat appeared on her forehead, but Mao Yuxian didn't have the courage to wipe it. Standing there motionless, it seemed that he had lost the strength to resist. Boring. Shaking his head, Bajian retracted his aura and looked at Itachi. Let's practice. You really are. Someone is a girl anyway. Throwing the sword in his hand, Itachi said dubiously, be gentle with girls, this is what my mother told me. Don't say you don't know if you don't have a mother, I'm telling you now. Besides, this is common sense. Yes, is it so cruel to treat girls? Although Bajian didn't do anything, this kind of blow was deeper than actually defeating the opponent. That is a means to completely imprint one's own image on the other's soul. Real suppression. At this moment, Itachi looked at Bajian, completely like a straight steel man who only knew how to practice swords. This kid knows a fart. Bajian shook his head and smashed the opponent's shuriken back lightly. Whether you do it or not, the gap is there. If Ōtsutsuki can get out of today's blow, her realm in the future will definitely improve a lot. This is for her good. Of course, there is also the possibility that the other party can't hold back and will be devastated from then on. But Bajian is still here, and Mao Yuxian is still here. All she needs is a word of encouragement when she is desperate. All in all, Bajian knew in his heart. The practice began. Mao Yuxian still stood there blankly, keeping the action of asking for advice. And the boy and Itachi have already started their own practice. I don't know how long it took, and the girl who was standing still trembled suddenly. She seemed to be awakened by the cold air, or the crazy beast in the fantasy rushed towards her. At this moment she was finally awake. But the scene before her made her even more decadent. Unparalleled shuriken collision method. Whether it was Uchiha Itachi or Yi Bajian, when the two sweated and threw their shurikens at each other in a terrifying way, the picture was brought into view. She finally understood how far she was from them. It's ridiculous, she is actually challenging such a person. Leaning weakly under the tree. She has forgotten her purpose for coming here. Filled with confusion, she stared straight at the sword in her hand, her eyes sluggish. Time seems to have passed a long time. When a hand was put in front of her, Azuki Shien's eyelashes moved slightly, and she slowly raised her head. The weather is not very warm now. A girl who has been standing here for so long is afraid that she will get sick. The boy's hands are not big, but he seems to feel safe. In this way, I just plan to relax with Itachi today. Come on, let's take a bath together to get rid of the cold. I treat you. As he said, he grabbed the girl's hand and walked towards the exit of the training ground under Itachi's dumbfounded gaze. Added the first chapter sent. I'm bored, the little author will write another chapter. Gone. Thank you readers for your flowers. Thanks. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 20 Jianzhang. Pay attention to the 3 prohibitions. Come on, I invite you to take a bath. Oh my goodness. How did he say this to a girl? Itachi was stunned. He was completely stunned. After a long time, he sighed. Maybe this is Bajian, his friend. The so-called 3 forbidden ninjas are completely useless in Bajian's view. Money, wine, women. Except for money, everything seems to have been committed. Following Bajian weakly, Itachi looked directly at Bajian's back like this. He wants to know, does his friend really want to do this? Take a bubble bath to get rid of the cold. There is no problem with such words between men and men, or between women and women. If it's a man and a woman. You deserve it. When Bajian took Yu Xian's little hand and really came to Konoha Tangchi, he couldn't help but stretch out his thumb. He came. He really came. Come and invite the girl to take a bath. Fortunately, it is not those pools that allow shared baths. But it seems that here is the kind of private room that can be chosen. It's impossible. With a dignified expression, Itachi's arm rested heavily on Bajian's shoulder. Kansang, this is wrong. 3 ninja bans. 3 prohibitions. You can't go on like this. As a friend, Itachi felt it necessary to remind Bajian. If you are addicted to the 3 forbidden ninja, the consequences could be disastrous. Konoha has a precedent, and his mother Uchiha Makoto used the analogy. Lord Jiraiya, and Lord Tsunade. He could have become a better ninja, but after 3 prohibitions, he always felt a little weird. Looking at Itachi speechlessly, Bajian was a little distressed. How can he describe this age? The kidney function he should have is still limited. How can he describe that he was only kindly afraid that the girl would take a cold before sending her to take a bath? Let go of me. It seemed that she was uncomfortable with Itachi's eyes. Azuki Shu blushed and wanted to shake off Bajian's hand, but the strength on it was not something she could resist. No, I can only remind him in a low voice. This is the first time I feel being held. But she, a thin-skinned girl, really has no face to be led into the hot spring field. She finally broke free of Bajian's palm, and just as she opened the canvas on the hot spring field that blocked the view from the outside, Azuki Yuyan turned around, with an extremely serious look in her eyes. I swear, next time, I will never lose the courage to draw a sword in front of you. Huh. The girl took small steps and entered the soup pond. The Itachi standing outside the door was even more shocked. The girl's eyes are firmer than before. Is this Bajian's method? He clearly told Bajian that his actions were cruel to a girl. But in the end, he was thinking too much. You always think too much. Shaking their heads and pulling at Itachi's clothes, the two walked into the hot spring field. A bath after practice will always make people relax involuntarily. But there seems to be some disharmony in the male Tangquan. Jianzhang, please let go of your hands. Jianzhang, not there. Jianzhang, that's a lot of nonsense, it's your turn to rub me. Quote. It's hard to imagine what the man later revered as the god of Weasel experienced in the bathhouse. Only Lu Renjia who happened to pass by saw the man's hollow eyes and red, unspeakable face after coming out of it. The conscience of heaven and earth, the Uchiha clan has its own hot springs in the clan land. And this kind of overly cordial way of scrubbing, he has never experienced it. For the first time, it's all like this. Compared with Itachi, Bajian was a little too comfortable. Leaning on the recliner next to him, Bajian took a sip of wine and felt comfortable. It seemed that the exhaustion caused by cultivation had all disappeared. Jianzhang, I haven't been home after school. I'm afraid that her mother will wipe it clean. Itachi scratched his head in embarrassment. Although, I really want to stay with Bajian for a while. Although he also knew that when he stayed with Bajian, he was extraordinarily relaxed and he didn't need to think about any issues. But he must go home. Understand, go ahead. Nodded, Bajian didn't say much, just patted Itachi on the shoulder. The strength of the opponent's shoulder is limited, but in the future, it will carry a lot of things that do not belong to him. Bajian has decided to grab some of the things on it and resist it by himself. Probably, this is a friend. Itachi went home. After taking a short break, Bajian closed his eyes, and the next second, a fictional image centered on him appeared in his mind. One energy fluctuation after another poured into it. That is the energy from everyone's soul. When the Zaraki Kenpachi template reaches 5% progress, it means that Bajian has moved further towards Shinigami. And Shinigami is most sensitive to soul fluctuations. This kind of inspiration is Bajian's unique perception mode in Naruto world. Still soaking. Woman. Suddenly opened his eyes, Bajian let out a breath, raised his eyebrows just as he was about to leave, and his figure disappeared instantly. At this time, the female soup is outside. Across that layer of wooden boards that obscure the beautiful scenery, a white-haired man who was prematurely aging was sneaking forward. Just as he was about to successfully reach that weak gap, an unharmonious voice suddenly appeared. In my impression, a person who is called a hero does not do this kind of thing. What do you mean, Mr. Huang in porn, gambling and drugs? The white-haired man followed the voice and looked. A young man wrapped in Kabuto's crotch and carrying a wine gourd appeared in front of him. To be honest, I don't like the name Mr. Huang. After a brief consternation, the bold man stood up, revealing his determined face. One of Konoha Sanin, Hero Jiraiya. Well, there is a reply on the work related to the question from the reader of Starwalker in the book review area. In addition, thank you all for the flowers. Many thanks. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 21. Damn it, have you been played? When? The writer draws materials. It is not a shame to say such things. But it is definitely not a reason for peeping, especially when he wrote a small H article. Bajian stepped forward for only one reason. Mao Yuxian was still in the bath. Well, Jiraiya, who is in the various conferences, does not need such a low-end method. After Yi Bajian stood in front of him, he also seemed to lose interest. In the rest area next to Konoha Tangquan, two figures, one large and one small, were sitting on it. Throwing the wine gourd in front of him in front of Jiraiya, Bajian hugged his shoulders and looked at the man seriously. A very handsome man. The man who personally put an end to his hero story. Wandering Dragon and Angelica, the sea does not welcome me Jiraiya. It was a life that made people cry and touched the heart. For Konoha, he was considered ultimate. It is a pity that the period of Jiraiya hero story is not very satisfactory. Just like the upcoming Nine Tails Chaos, he was not in the village by mistake, and he always felt that something was missing. You are not old enough to drink. After taking the wine gourd, Jiraiya smelled it and then his eyes lit up, and it's still such a strong and outrageous wine. Jiraiya, who is inspiring to visit the conference halls, has a lot of insights about wine. Just by smelling it, you can understand that this thing is not ordinary. Bajian didn't speak. He is not the kind of person who is good at words, and more often he prefers to express his thoughts in actions. And Jiraiya also began to remain silent after taking a sip of erguotu. After all, Yi Bajian is not Uzumaki Naruto. There is nothing to say with a kid who catches himself peeping. But Jiraiya is obviously not the kind of person who can adapt to quietness and enjoy alcohol washing in the dark. Heroes like to lively. After a drink, with a flushing face, he suddenly thought of Zhao Hong, the clubhouse he had agreed with before. Ah, the wine is good. Look at your boy as a man of temperament. Money is a bit cliched. Take it and see the latest work that hasn't been published yet. Jiraiya, who was eager to communicate with Zhao Hong in depth, threw a book and then turned and left. Intimate Paradise. Picking it up and glanced at it, Bajian calmly slipped it into Kabuto's crotch. After all, it is Jiraiya's thing, and he also wants to see how this thing is different from the H-book in his mind. Why is it so popular in the ninja world? Even Hitaki Kakashi is obsessed with it. Standing up, the wave of Reiatsu in his mind has gradually approached. Bajian showed a calm smile and walked to the door of the female soup, standing and waiting. 3 seconds later, the cute girl with purple hair opened the curtain and walked out. But it seemed that the comfort brought by the bath made her a little tired. She yawned with her eyes closed and slammed into someone's arms. He opened his eyes and faced each other, fleeing like a frightened deer. It's him. He hasn't left yet. Holding the bath towel, Mao Yuxian's face turned red. Click. It's not a coincidence. Due to the impact of the girl, the intimate paradise hidden in the Kabuto stall accidentally fell out. The puzzled girl lowered her head and looked over. When she saw the look of the bold woman on the cover, she was completely stunned. He actually likes to read this kind of book. The impression of the cold and warm man in the impression of a strong swordsman. At this moment there are some signs of collapse. Bajian is as calm as ever. Bent down to pick up the intimate heaven, and then stretched out his hand to pat Azuki Shien's small face, as if he was testing the temperature, and put the hand that touched Azuki Shien's face on his forehead to test it. It's okay. No fever. Let's go. I'll take you home. ... It's weird. This is Uzu Shien's thoughts at this moment. It's really strange. At night, she actually agreed to a man with that kind of book in his arms to send herself home. But catching the moonlight, the profile of the boy next to him was clear. The discordant scar on it also crashed into her heart. I really want to know everything about him. Stiffly followed Bajian and walked forward. Suddenly, the footsteps stopped, and a trace of confusion suddenly appeared on the boy's face. Turning his head, Bajian took a bold sip of wine and looked at Yu Yuxian. Where is your home? Damn it. Has it been played? When? I was played. Was played for a day today. Still the kind that can't resist. At this moment, the girl left tears of regret. Remorse your own weakness. It was played because it was too weak. I don't know where my home is, why are you still walking forward? At first, because she was thinking about things, she didn't care about the changes in the surrounding scenery, but now where this is, she is almost walking to the death forest. You wait for me. The angry girl finally left a cruel word, and then ran backwards in a hurry. She swears that she remembered this humiliating day. The body that was hit for the first time in swordsmanship was incomplete. For the first time, I was invited by a man to take a bath. Will you ask me to sleep with me next time? Uninteresting. Bajian shook his head, said that when he really wanted to send Yu Yuxian home. After all, it was night. During this time period, Konoha should have carved a few street signs saying that it is dead at night. Please be careful about Orochimaru. Yes, Orochimaru is scratching the subject. Otherwise you think he is so kind to send the girl home. I didn't expect that people like you would also be interested in women. Some people just don't resist talking. At the moment Bajian sighed, Mr. Snake with a sack on his shoulder landed beside him. In the dead of night, please be careful about Orochimaru. Ask for flowers and tickets. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 22. Sorry, you can't understand this power. It seems that since the last conversation, Orochimaru has never treated the boy in front of him as an imp. Just analyze the tone of his speech to get this conclusion. Of course, this does not mean that Orochimaru put Bajian in a position equal to himself. He is not worthy. At least he is not worthy now. In Orochimaru's eyes, Bajian was just a stunning swordsman, and a mysterious teenager was revealed everywhere. You have been with me for a long time, aren't you tired? Bajian yawned and calmly leaned against the tree. No one can escape his perception. That is due to the Reiatsu wave, which is completely different from the breath of a ninja and chakra. But Shinigami. So as early as when he left Yukon, he felt Orochimaru's Reiatsu fluctuations. As expected of you, Bajian-kun. Without hesitating his admiring gaze, Orochimaru put down the sack on his shoulder, the surprise in his eyes flashed away. If he was discovered by Bajian before, you can say that he was careless and did not deliberately hide his breath too much. But now, he is working. In order to find a suitable experiment for the finishing touch of living corpse reincarnation. Once in the working state, he can be transformed into a cold-blooded snake, avoiding all perceptions. This is how he survives. Whether it is chakra or breath, it is seamlessly hidden. After all, this is Konoha. His teacher still has the strength. Konoha's perception unit is not eating rice, and there are a lot of experimental products recently searched, even Orochimaru has to work carefully. But even so, he was still discovered by the boy in front of him. Just an ordinary kid. Why? He can exceed his own understanding time and time again. As far as he knows, in the entire ninja world, only Kagura's eyes of the Uzumaki clan possess this ability. The legendary perception technique. Unfortunately, that clan has been destroyed. The boy in front of him has black hair, and it is by no means the orphan of the Uzumaki clan. Moreover, his information is very clear, and there are no outstanding ninjas in his ancestors. Bajian-kun, hide your edge appropriately, this will help you grow. Shaking his head, Orochimaru thought of the original intention of showing up to find the other party. Someone has noticed you. The voice became low and Orochimaru reminded him kindly. This time it was Bajian's turn to be strange. It seems that people like Orochimaru will never take the initiative to remind others of their situation. But he just said it. It's not like him. Don't get me wrong, Bajian-kun. Seeing the puzzlement in the eyes of the boy in front of him, Orochimaru smiled slightly and his gaze became sullen. I have been observing a person, a suitable person. That's your friend Uchiha Itachi. And your appearance broke my plan. I seem to have seen a more suitable person than Itachi. The fly in the ointment is that your eyes do not belong to Uchiha. But since you entered my field of vision, the out-of-normal behavior that you showed has attracted me very much. Who is more suitable for you or Itachi makes me entangled. So before I figure out who is more suitable, I don't want the equipment to have problems. Itachi has the Uchiha clan as a backer, but you don't. So, please be careful, this Konoha is darker than you see. Was it a kind reminder from Orochimaru? But the way of reminding is really straightforward. In short, I am interested in you, but you are not qualified enough, I am still observing. Until the observation is clear, you can't go wrong. I hope you are careful. Bajian laughed. He got it. It seems that due to his own existence, Orochimaru's attention has been separated a lot from Itachi. There is even a feeling of cultivating a container. Like Sasuke who defected to Konoha. Your own container, don't want others to touch it. Why does he like himself? Is it unusual over and over again? Such a pity. His wishful thinking was a bit wrong. He arched his hands at Orochimaru, and Bajian smiled lightly on his face. Thank you so much, but whether you noticed me as third Hokage or Danzo, then I have nothing to do with me. It's you. Konoha's night patrol team is about to come over with about 100 meters left. Are you sure you won't be suspected of carrying that thing? Pointing to the distance, Bajian already sensed Reiatsu of the patrol. Patrol. It seems to be this time indeed. Orochimaru, who was familiar with Konoha's defense, nodded, and the curiosity in his eyes became more intense. Bajian-kun, can you tell me how this perception is done? Perceive beyond one's own understanding. Even if he doesn't leak his breath and chakra, he can still clearly perceive the wind and grass. Byakugan. No, his eyes are iconic black pupils. The Uzumaki family. Nor is it. What the hell is that? Bajian's body makes him long. Orochimaru is full of curiosity. Sorry, you can't understand this power. He picked up the wine gourd and took a fierce sip, gave Orochimaru an extremely seductive look, and the boy jumped up and disappeared into the training ground. Before long, a patrol team arrived as scheduled. When the patrol team left, Orochimaru, who was hiding himself behind the tree, walked out. There was a crazy smile on his face. This world, there is no power that I can't understand. I'm Orochimaru. Bajian-kun, you are more worth studying than Ferret. Ask for votes. Give me something. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 23 Another Uchiha who returned. The sunshine in spring is getting warmer and warmer. But the hidden undercurrent surging makes the atmosphere of the whole village slightly depressed. For example, the children who are still missing one after another. I also heard that the guards of the Uchiha clan have arrested certain innocent passers-by. But are passers-by really innocent? If you really did nothing wrong, why would the guard arrest people? What the villagers see and hear is only what others want them to hear and spread. That's it. Contradictions and conflicts will slowly expand in a repressive atmosphere. It has been a week since the opening of the ninja school. The students have adapted to the new life. As expected by Bajian and Itachi, their lessons with Shadow Clone went quite smoothly. Sweat like rain in the training ground during the day. At night, I sat under the stars and chatted with Itachi, and went to the hot spring to promote friendship. Bajian's life became extraordinarily regular. The only difference is, his strength is growing steadily every day. The first template of the King of Flat Slash, the complete Zaraki Kenpachi from the Shinigami world, has reached 7% of unlocking progress. There is still 3% of the progress to accept the next template. The next activation of the flat cut feature will come when the second template reaches 5%. Bajian is looking forward to this. The flat cut feature is not unique. There is no change in the daily tasks. With 2,000 hacks a day, Bajian has completely adapted to this training method. Bajian didn't take the peeping that Orochimaru said last time. The days are still going on. Uchiha Ethnic Land. In the Sakura flower forest outside the patriarch's house, several figures are sitting around a round table. During the vernal equinox, the most suitable thing is to admire sakura flowers. I vaguely remember that when I came last time, these sakura flowers were still in bud, but now they have fully grown. Bajian had never seen such a situation in his previous life. Sakura flowers are beautiful. Leaning against the tree comfortably and having a sip of ergotu, the taste is different and enjoyable. I don't know why, your friend gives me a very free and easy feeling. There are a few people sitting at the round table. The talking teenager looked a little strange. It has the nose of a teenager from the Uchiha clan. He wears a dark high-necked short-sleeved shirt and triangular protective gear on his upper body, pants of the same color, leggings, and a small sword on his back. His name is Uchiha Shisui. Shisui. The heart is like Shisui. But his character doesn't match his name at all. This is the second Uchiha teenager who is still alive and full of sunshine today. At this time, he had just returned from the battlefield. Said it is a battlefield, his shots do not necessarily hurt people. With just one look, Shisui, who was on the frontier of Kurigakure, gave up the task of instantaneous Shisui. His illusion has reached a certain level. Itachi didn't say anything. He couldn't learn the kind of temperament that Bajian had. But this does not prevent him from introducing his best friend to his mentor and helpful friend. Two Uchiha, and a teenager with a foreign surname. Of course, there were two quiet girls beside them. Uchiha Spring and Azuki Yuga. The same reason that Bajian came here, Azuki Yuyan was invited by Quan to come to the Uchiha clan to admire sakura flowers. Shi Yan was somewhat restrained. After all, this is the first time she has come to Uchiha's clan. But since Izumi has been in contact for so long, she has some doubts. The Uchiha clan said to be arrogant and rude, she didn't see it here. Does this kind of rumor sound a bit careless just to directly deny a family based on someone's arrogance? She does not know. Quietly watching Sakura drinking tea, and watching the boy under Sakura with the corner of his eye. Now she has a touch of satisfaction in her heart. Drink a sip. Stretching, Bajian sat down beside Shisui, with a little appreciation in his eyes and handed his wine gourd. Uchiha Shisui. Cheerful guy. Descendants of Uchiha Kagami. Have the strongest distinguished heavenly gods known as the strongest illusion. That, looking at the wine gourd in front of him, Shisui's mouth twitched. Thousands of calculations, he didn't expect that the first sentence of the best friend and himself was this. Drink, Shisui. Itachi patted Shisui on the shoulder, showing a strong affirmative look and encouragement. Some things are not convenient for him to say more. He understands that Bajian is the kind of man who expresses his attitude with actions. The wine handed over represents sentiment. If you drink it today, you will even know each other. To invite again in the future, that is to recognize your existence. Very simple and rude person. Even the same personality as his moves, the same straightforward. There was a few seconds of silence. Shisui smiled and took the wine gourd and raised his neck and took a sulking bite. There is no doubt that Erguotu's strong and spicy throat burst into flames. I heard that your swordsmanship is good. Putting down the wine gourd and panting, Shisui stared straight at Bajian. Let Itachi admire the swordsmanship. He wanted to see it. Come on, make gestures. After drinking, Shisui drew a kodachi and walked under the sakura flower tree. ... Tweed, beat the table, don't give me a single flower crying. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 24 I long for a worthy opponent. Senior Shisui really is. Seeing Shisui with a high fighting spirit, Uchiha Spring sighed slightly. In her opinion, this behavior is completely bullying. That's right, although Yi Bajian is the man recognized by Itachi, a week has passed. The students in their class did not find anything special about that boy. As always, I fell asleep after class. Although the first round of entrance examinations has not yet been taken, no one is optimistic about him. Lazy behavior in class is not affirmed by teachers and peers. The tale of the crane is no doubt. And Shisui Senpai is already a hero who has returned from the battlefield to fame. The hero of the Uchiha clan. Challenge a child who has just entered school in this capacity. What is it not to bully? Quan, you are still too superficial to look at things. Azuki Shion shook his head. Don't say anything else, if it's just a swordsmanship duel, I think Yi's chances of winning are great. Are you brainwashed? Quan tugged at Mao Yuxian's cuff with a question mark on her face. Hey, didn't you have other thoughts after being treated to a shower by someone? Upon hearing this, Yu Yuxian was shocked and quickly covered Quan's small mouth. Where did you know this kind of thing? Hee, we slept in the same bed last night. Quan sneered and tore off Qianqianyu's hand covering his mouth. I said Xian, it's fine for you to snatch my quilt when you sleep. Have you chanted that guy's name hundreds of times? What are you talking about next time I ask you to take a bath and give your favor or something? I think you are just being stunned. Yes, because there is no class today, and Azuki Yuyan has been invited to the Uchiha clan to enjoy Sakura flowers, so I just took Azuki Yuyan back to his home last night. It may be that the last time Uzu Shion was stimulated by Bajian a little bit, she still remembers the scene until now. Dreaming is a normal behavior. But the dream talk was overheard by Quan, and it obviously became not so normal. What did I say? Shi Yan's face flushed red, and if it weren't for the purple hair that covered her ears, she would have completely exposed her already shameless expression. Tisk tisk, I won't say anything else, some can't be said, but I have a problem. Quan curled her lips, and the little girl had strong curiosity in her eyes. Shion, the boy. You know, what's the difference? You know it. What a god I know. Mao Yuxian was completely dizzy. How she should explain it is a misunderstanding. It's really just going to take a bath together, but it's not like taking a bath together. And what you are saying is as if I have seen everything. Don't underestimate the precocity of girls in this world. It is only a momentary thing to have a good impression. Or it's just a curiosity, and it's out of control from then on. 2 examples. Hinata, little Sakura, a guardian who silently watched Naruto's back for many years, in desperate situations, dared to stand up and protect him. And okay, Naruto is okay. Sasuke's full-time licking dog finally got the love he wanted. They all succeeded. However, the girl's heart of 8 trigrams does not seem to have much to do with the 2 rivals on the court. Bajian holding the knife has completely entered the state. At this moment, the person in front of him is Shisui, the famous instantaneous body. Although it's just a confrontation with swordsmanship. But Shisui is a strong man who has really returned from the battlefield. Wielding a knife for several years. The excitement at this moment suddenly broke out. The body was shaking. Not afraid, but the war spirit and excitement hidden in the wild heart. The fighting spirit is surging. Raising his hand, he threw the wine gourd to the ferret at the table not far behind. Yi Bajian hit the handle of the knife. I long for a worthy opponent. Roar. No heart-piercing roar. But Shisui looked at the boy in front of him, as if he had heard a roar from his heart. In his heart, lived a beast. I actually look forward to Jianzhang's full strength so much. Catching Bajian's wine gourd, Itachi's chest fluctuated. He has been practicing and growing together with Bajian as a sparring partner for a long time. But from beginning to end, he didn't see where the culmination of that person was. That is an insurmountable gap. As for that day, Bajian fainted after cutting up the rockery. Itachi didn't think it was Bajian's power. After his judgment, it seemed that the chakra of the body was exhausted. How strong is he? As a friend, Itachi wants to know this too. I want to surpass Bajian and get his affirmation and recognition. That is the true friend. The sword intent was vertical and horizontal, and the beast waved the sharp blade in his hand, which was more like a sharp claw extending from the palm of his hand. The seemingly ordinary flat cut gave Shisui a great sense of oppression. This is a man who is really obsessed with kendo. In an instant, Shisui understood what Itachi had said to him before. In terms of kendo, absolutely no one can surpass him in the future. I believe that the name Yi Bajian will go down in history. Kang. The voice of Jintijiaoming came. The squally wind blows, and the sakura flower splashes all over. The 2 girls who were addicted to 8 trigrams turned their heads. At that moment, the figure of the young man holding a knife slashed into his heart. They seemed to be drunk. Ooh, ask for votes. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 25. Be sure to maintain your friendship with him. Sorry, because it was a bit late to deal with things in the family. Not far from the sakura flower forest, a madman walked to his wife's side, and looked softly at the puffy belly. As the patriarch, in his capacity, naturally there is no need to say this kind of apology to his wife. But today's days are different. I have already agreed to watch sakura flowers in the morning. Usually at this time, his wife would only lean weakly on his shoulder. It's just that she is obviously different today. Looking at the sakura flower forest blankly. Following her gaze, Uchiha Fugaku's pupils suddenly shrank, and 3 scarlet Guyu slowly emerged. In the sakura flower forest, 2 figures seemed to be dancing, and the intertwined figures move the sakura flower falling in the wind. If you don't turn on Sharingan, you may even be unable to keep up with their movements. Uchiha Shisui, who became famous as a teenager. Who was the other one? That is, Itachi's friend. Yi Bajian, it turned out to be him. How is this kind of swordsmanship possible? He can beat Shisui to this level with swordsmanship. How old is he? You know, that's Uchiha's instant Shisui. Surprised, shocked, after more than 10 seconds, he finally walked out of that emotion. Sengoyu slowly disappeared in his pupils. At this moment, he seemed to see something. That is the unique power of the potential young man. Itachi made a good friend. With a smile on his face, Fugaku suddenly said this. The Makoto beside him also recovered from the shock and nodded as expected. From her point of view, it is a good thing that such a good boy is a friend of Itachi. However, Fugaku's ideas are fundamentally different from Makoto. The friendship cultivated since childhood is the most reliable. What Fugaku saw was that in the future, a terrifying swordsman comparable to White Fang would stand on the side of the Uchiha clan. He looked farther. At dusk, sakura flowers are flying. The little discussion was over long ago. After relaxing for a whole day with the Uchiha clan, Bajian and Uzushian were sent to the Uchiha clan outside by Itachi. Really not going to take a bath. It is true that I drank a lot today, and Bajian himself was a little drunk. The discussion with Shisui has really improved Bajian a lot. That is a fighting technique. This kind of thing can only be accumulated after a lot of battles. With the steady growth of Bajian's flat-cutting formwork, this valuable combat technique is very practical. There is no victory or defeat in the battle. Because this is just an ordinary discussion, it's just a discussion that allows the two to understand each other better. Shisui also felt from the battle, if you really want to figure out where the apex of Bajian is, only a real fight can do it. His knife is also a murderous knife. Sorry, Bajian. Itachi shook his head in embarrassment. My father just asked me to let me know that he would let me go there, and another day. Speaking of the word bubble bath, Yu Shian, who was next to Bajian, suddenly squeezed, and then carefully glanced at Uchiha Spring, who was winking at him. She really wanted to be crooked again. Mao Yushian's face turned red. Hey, we must safely send our Miss Shian home. Quan was much more generous than Shian, and he patted Bajian on the shoulder naturally and commanded. It's already night, and it's the boy's duty to escort the girl home. Bajian nodded calmly and pulled Shian's little hand around and left. The hand-in-hand movement was extremely natural and skillful, as if he should have done that. As he moved forward, he seemed to be saying something again. Looking at the back of the two of them, Uchiha Quan pricked up his ears, and finally heard a few words under her unremitting efforts. Let's go. I heard that there are very few people in Tangquan today, so let's go for a while. Okay, sure enough. Quan was short of breath, as if he had found the scene of the rape. Coming. Ancestral Hall. The sacred place for the Uchiha clan to worship their ancestors. It seems that every time there is an important thing, Fugaku will meet with each other here, looking a bit solemn. Looking at the spiritual position in the ancestral hall with his back hand, Fugaku said calmly. Itachi knelt on the ground with a hum. He respects his father as the patriarch very much. At least this time. In his opinion, there is no doubt that his father can lead the Uchiha clan to prosperity. Your friends are very nice. Fugaku is a person who doesn't like talking nonsense. Turned around, straight to the point. Sakura saw the swordsmanship duel under the flower tree clearly. Jianzhang, you were praised by your father. Itachi smiled relievedly. Obviously, Bajian was very happy to be praised by his stern father. It's like being praised for yourself. Then, for the Uchiha clan, Itachi. Be sure to maintain your friendship with him. But Fugaku's conversation turned, and Itachi was stunned. What did the father say? The young Itachi was a little surprised. My father, my friendship with Yi, and the family. You just listen. Fugaku said lightly. He is worth it. I asked. Not this. My father. Itachi laughed bitterly, but did not continue to refute after all. He means. The friendship between two people is never mixed with the feelings of a family. Regardless of the existence of a clan, Bajian is still his friend. But if it is mixed with this purpose, this pure friendship has been tarnished. Father, what's on your mind? Itachi stared at that figure, his eyes finally fell on the standing stone monument. Please ask for votes. The 5 changes are completed, and the additional changes will be sent later. Thank you for reading this story at mtlarchive.com. Your support enables us to keep the site running.